with the metal, glass, and plastic, and the paper trucks. And that right now is only done once a week in conjunction with the recycling of the residential apartments. So that pickup coincides with the once a week of the residential end of it. We're trying to gauge what's going on to try to see how we can pick up more often or not, because you got to understand, to send a truck out for, and you don't have that many garbage cans per se, okay? Recycling, I need to say. To send a truck and a crew out just to pick up that daily is a lot of money, okay? And that's an extra truck, especially when it's a transportation committee, an extra truck out on the streets every day. So we play that, you know, we play with that. So what we do realize is that the public recycling cans, as you can see from this picture, is not completely recyclable. People are not recycling the proper way. They're sticking everything they can in every hole they find in those cans. And if the hole is too small, they'll open the door and they'll pull it out, as you can see right there, and they do that. The one on the corner right here is completely pulled out with, you know, cans there. And while I was sitting here, my truck drove down the street and he picked up the garbage end of stuff, but they can't pick up this stuff. You can't lock these doors, because I know you mentioned locking them. No garbage can that these high-end ones here are locked. They can't be locked. We cannot give every sanitation worker in New York City a key to the cans, right, the corner litter baskets. They're not locked. And we can't give a key to everybody to go service them. So they have to be open. So these blue cans here that, if anyone can see those, the regular, you know, you've seen those before, they have a latch. The newer ones that you'll see out there now that's actually on the corner, they have a magnetic hole. It's more of a magnetic lock than it is of a latch, because we've noticed the latches don't work that well. We're moving away from these cans. Not that we're not going to continuously use them, but we're moving away from those, and we have the new gray ones you've seen with the colored top. So you could, so it's more aesthetically pleasing, and it's more uniform throughout the entire city. But where we've had the biggest problems, we've tried to find partners in the neighborhood, whether it was a bid, whether it's a merchants association, whether it's a block association, whether it's just a bunch of concerned citizens, real people I'm talking about, not I'm your friend tonight and then tomorrow we're not, you know, we're X. We don't want to be X's anymore. Where they, on a daily basis or every other day, will take the bag out and bring it in with their recyclables. So they're storing it so it's not overflowing, it's not causing an issue there. Where we work with the community itself, our partners, we become X's because they don't think that they want to continuously hold the trash for that one time a week pickup. But we'll, you know, we work with them, we try to supply them, not all of them with plastic bags, to try to make things happen. It doesn't always work out, but that's what right now where we're trying to partner up with the community to help us. You know what? We can't be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because recycling happens to be on Friday, let's just say. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you go there and you take that bag out and you just store it with your recyclables. We know where they are. We'll come there and pick it up, and there'll be no issues. And we understand the contamination end of it is technically, if you were just a regular homeowner putting out contaminated recyclables, you're liable for a ticket. But we understand that this is not yours. You're doing the storage end of it, so you're not going to get a ticket. So that's something that we're working on, help the situation.
Is there any way to have them locked so that only Department of Sanitation or authorized other folks can open them?
No garbage can be locked. They all have to be accessible at all times. And
when I say locked, I mean unloading locked, not putting a deposit in it locked.
No, we're talking, yeah, you're talking a key lock? Yeah, you can't, we cannot supply every sanitation worker with a key. That's never going to happen. That's operationally and logistically impossible.
Don't these have locks? These ones
Those are the big bellies that are not done by the Department of Sanitation. Those are,
That's a bit.
right, the big,
downtown lot.
right. Those right there cost $5,000 a piece. Right. Right. They're $5,000 a piece.
There's not a piece of litter outside of those.
No, but you also got to put into effect that they have a bid. That daily there's somebody there sweeping, cleaning, and packing the trash away. If you had a bid on 87th Street, I can guarantee you'd never see a piece of paper on the floor either. It's the same concept, but those are not the Department of Sanitation. Those are only, we pretty much only allow that in the city where there is a bid that can maintain them on a daily basis. But we won't touch those. It's not something that personally I'm a fan of either.
How much do the cans that are out there cost?
Okay, just so you can have an idea, I know we're gonna get a little chuckles here, but the new cans that you see outside now, the gray, the silver bottom with the colored top, each one is $1,200.
What? Wow.
The ones, the gray ones?
The gray ones that are there right now,
Have you guys
Are
Home
12.
Depot?
we've gone to Home Depot, and Home Depot really try to rip us off. So, listen, Home Depot's not such a nice company. They really kind of stuck with
Lowe's is
us.
opening up. I'm just saying.
Lowe's is opening up, and we're working with Lowe's, but right now,
That seems like a lot of money.
it is because you got to think of the type of garbage can that it is. It is a durable, weatherproof, resistant can that's on the thing. It's out there 24 hours a day. You just can't put a regular garbage can in all seriousness. I know it sounds weird, and trust me, I said the same thing. I've had many arguments with my parents at the dinner table about this. And at first, I never really understood that concept, but it makes sense. You just can't go buy a garbage can at a Lowe's or a Home Depot and put it out there. These are specially made cans that can resist New York City. There's nothing in this world that's rat proof, but they are rat resistant when they're not open.
That's key. Is there been any look at or possibility of leveraging some of the sanitation pickup that's being done at the schools, which is more days a week, I understand, and more stuff, be able to leverage that to be able to get more pickup?
We have thought about that because right now, schools get picked when school is in session, because right now school is not in session, so there's no school truck anymore, obviously. So that's something that we gotta think about too, because then that means for basically 2.5 months almost, we have to reorganize everything. But yes, we have thought of utilizing our school trucks, which is every other day, because they get, now because of the new organics law, they have to do organics. So the organics gets picked up every day. But the refuse end of it, the whatever's not organic, and the recycling alternates every other day. But the problem that we're having is they're not doing their part, so we can't do our part in terms of collecting what we're supposed to be collecting because the schools are not cooperating. So we're fighting that battle right now to try to get, before September starts, to try to get all the public schools on board so they understand that that's let me tell you, a really huge fight that we're having with public schools.
How are the schools doing in this district?
They're not doing it.
No.
They're not, no. Let me tell you right now, there's no school, there might be, there's maybe a handful of schools that are trying, and you can see they're trying, but they're still kind of messed up. And then the rest of the schools can care less.
Recycling.
Organic wise, yeah, they can care less.
What happened with the compost program?
It isn't, it already isn't.
I have just one question.
How's it doing?
The school pickup, during the school, how often do they pick up the trash in schools during the school? Do they come out
Every day.
every day?
And it's every day, and also, not only is it every day, but also on the night shift, but if there's collection
Right.
in that school, where that, the block is a normal collection, they get picked up then also.
I have to call in, 'cause they don't pick up, I don't see them pick up.
No, let me tell you something. Well, right now, there is none
No,
because,
I'm during the school
no,
year.
but we do it, you know why? You know why, and I can tell you, and I'll gladly go with anybody to show you this. We'll pick it up, and before the truck even drives off, the custodian is coming out with another truckload of garbage, so
Okay.
we could have been there, you might have missed us for 15, 20 minutes, I'm not saying, but they just reloaded that sidewalk and it looks like we were never there. And you're not looking for the exact same bag you saw 12 hours ago, all you saw was garbage. So that's, you know what I'm saying? But trust me when I tell you, we're there daily. And if they didn't see any garbage out there.
Ken?
I'm wondering if other cities have this problem, and if you looked at what other cities are doing.
Other cities are having this problem. But the problem that we come across, that when we do look at some of the other cities, and let me tell you, other cities and other countries come to us to see how we handle things. Because, let's be serious, there is no city in this country that has the amount of people that we have in the geographical area that we have. All right? We have 8.4 million people that we know of. In all seriousness. So you got to then the other part of it is almost close to 12 million people. So when we go to cities like San Francisco, we go to up to Canada, and they're pretty good in the recycling world. But when it comes to their public recycling end of it, it's not as close as what we have here. They came to us to see what we do, so they can try to implement some of our rules and regulations and enforcement ideas over in LA. So we do talk with other cities. We do try to get their idea. We try to copy some of their ideas in terms of basket designs, and we talk with them. But we're not comparing apples to apples. We're really comparing apples to onions. You know what I'm saying? We're totally on the opposite end of the food chain.
And
Two quick comments. With regard to the locking of the recycling containers, you wouldn't need one for every person. You would only need one for every truck you send out, because the people you put on that truck, whoever they might be, would use that key. So you actually need a whole lot less keys than one for every sanitation worker.
Union rules will not allow me to do that, Ian.
They won't let you do it.
Union rules has that every sanitation, just so you know, every sanitation worker has a key to a truck. And there's one
But we're not
truck
talking
key.
about the key to the truck.
No, but you see the concept there?
Right.
There's not one key truck for the truck, and then crew by crew. No. Me and him were a crew. I have a set, he has a set. You two are a crew, you have a set, he has a set. End of story. There's no just one set. It's everyone has to have their own key. Because at any time, we might get split up, and I have to go grab another truck or move something. I need my keys. That key is going to operate all of my vehicles.
Right, but if each truck that services recyclable places had a key for the truck, so that whoever was driving it or working in it had the key for the recycling bins, then you wouldn't need one key for each person. You'd
It's
only
never
need
going to
a
work.
key
Ian,
for
trust me when I tell you. You know me a long time.
I do.
Okay, and I'm not going to lie. I'll never sugarcoat anything either. Serious.
I know.
This is New York. They're sanitation workers. Keys never going to work.
Okay.
The garbage routes, the routes themselves, will never get done here.
I have one other comment. With regard to
Mhm.
something that my block association would try, but the issue is not the storing of that bag. Take that bag out, we have to do the taking out the regular garbage and taking.
No, we're not going to ask you to.
Everything is all in one bag.
You're right. When
So-
you take that bag out of that can,
Right.
we're not going to ask you to go through it.
Oh,
We're not going to do that to you, because that makes zero sense.
okay.
We understand that you, at your address, you're storing it for us. So we know when we're coming to look for your house, we have bags that we're looking for, and then we have your bags. I'll gladly look at your bags, but I'm not going to look at the bags that you collected from the corner.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
That's just not fair. So we wouldn't do that to you.
Okay, that's a good point. You should
Howard,
bring that up.
just a quick question. Wouldn't it take so much longer for them to do their rounds if they had to first unlock?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
You
think
gotta
that would be
understand, the
biggest
average
problem.
basket route now, there's almost 500 baskets per route. So it literally can take them 8 hours plus to do a complete basket route. So if they have to stop at each basket, try to play with it, and listen, we all know this again, and then relock it, but we all know this. How many times you come to your house and wiggle the key 100 million times because it doesn't work anymore? Could you imagine if I had my sanitation worker spending 5 minutes at each garbage can to try to wiggle that key in? I'm gonna get 20 baskets done, and that's not gonna happen.
Iggy, how as a community board, can we help you to do this better?
If as a community board, obviously you have a better ear to the ground than we would in terms of the partners we can try to partner up with. You can spread the word out to, to find partners. Say, listen, you happen to have these baskets on your corner. Why don't you pretty much adopt them? You know what I'm saying? You get us in touch with them, we make the connection, and that's it. It's done. We have that, one-on-one. You have the advantage over us per se because you're the local people.
Does that work for you to have both businesses and residents?
Oh, if a business wants to do it, that's great too, because the business has access pretty much right on the corner. You know what I'm saying? They're open up in New York City almost every single day. It's rare that you find a business that's not open 7 days a week. And most of the businesses nowadays are 14-hour businesses, even 24 hours. So that's something that we would definitely recommend.
I'm just curious about the training of citizens, people, in how to use what, like, is there an effective tool so people know what not to throw into? I ride Metro North and they have bins that are very clearly labeled for what goes in them.
Mhm.
And I often see people just purposely
Go out of their way to
put the
Right.
wrong thing.
But okay, we have a huge amount, a plethora of information that we give out to the public to try to tell them about recycling. We have our stickers that we put everywhere. We get, our ads that we try to do every now and then. The size of the truck has it. When we go to community boards, things of that nature. We try to get that information out. But let me tell you, there's a lot of people who care less. And I'll give you an example. Every year, I personally do an event in Times Square. They got some really good food, so I like going there personally. It's called the Taste of Times Square. I stand there for I don't know how many hours, leaning on my garbage cans. I have 3 garbage cans: metal, glass, and plastic, paper garbage can, and a regular one. And they're clearly marked. It's not like you can say, I don't know what and we all know what blue is. We all know what green is. Okay? They're clearly marked. And just as I'm standing here that I can talk to you, watching these people still trying to stick the plastic cup into the paper slip. And I'm like, and I look at them, and they look at me like I'm the one who's wrong. And I got 10 heads. I'm like, do you understand, ma'am, that does not fit in that little tiny slit? She goes, no, I'll make it fit. It doesn't matter. I can trust me when I tell you, I can bombard you with a million things. If the person themselves doesn't want to do it, no one's going to do it. In all honesty.
Is there
No, they were New Yorkers, trust me. I follow them.
a website that somebody who's interested, a community person, a business is interested in, if they can contact you or has
Well,
something?
they can easily contact me via the community board. That's number one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, just in case you don't get my information out, they can contact me.
Maybe that, or whatever.
Oh, you're gonna tweet out my number? All right,
No,
no.
But
Yeah.
give me a website
But,
page
no,
where it
but
says-
they can, I'm gonna give you, they can email me
Uh-huh.
at customer service, one word,
Uh-huh, right.
at dsny.nyc.gov.
NYC.gov.
Correct. They can easily email us at that comes directly to my office. My staff and I are the ones that look at all those, and we'll just figure out where it should go. And if that's something that we can look at, I will get that particular person connected with my cleaning office, so that I can have the cleaning officer and the local supervisor pay them a visit. Right, exactly.
No hope of getting a second week delivery.
Right now, no, it's not happening. We are weighing out so many different options because of the organics program to see what we can do. Because, look, we've thought about upping the amount of times we pick up organics and lowering the amount of times we pick up your trash, upping the recycling, so many different things. But let me tell you, for as many good ideas we come up with, there's also a bunch of bad ideas we come up with. And then there's also resistance. People in New York still want to see us 2 to 3 times a week when we come pick up your trash. If I tell you, honest to God, I'm not saying it, but if I was to say, starting tomorrow, instead of 3 times a week, you're going to see me maybe twice a week, maybe once a week. There's going to be a huge uproar because, oh my God, what am I going to do with all my garbage? You know what I'm saying? So we really do play with this to try to figure out how we can balance what we threw throughout the entire city.
Are there any fines for opening that door?
No.
You think that would,
Well,
Yeah, do any
it's
good?
great that you mentioned that, because actually on our garbage cans, if you look at our garbage cans, there's a nice little sign that says, please do not place your household or your commercial garbage in here, fine of $100. Let me know how well that works.
I know people, they found envelopes and they find people.
Right, and then our elected officials
Yeah.
stop that.
But maybe if there was a
There
sign
is,
that,
there is. So please do not put your household for a fine of $100. And they still do.
Doesn't the availability or the ease of getting into these things mean you're gonna have more contaminated trash and less actually available for recycling?
Yes, but on the same token, we thought about that, but on the same token, it's actually helping the amount of trash not being on the floor. Because,
Being in the wrong can.
yes, because you're still throwing it into something. You know what I'm saying? I know it's overflowing, sometimes some of these cans are open, but if you think about this, where there is 3 cans in that corner, there is less garbage than there is where there is just 1 can on that corner, because that can overflows 10 times faster than 3 cans would. So we understand that. It's something that we are accepting of, because I'd rather be in that can than be on the floor.
I have a question, but when the cans are really, really dirty, who's responsible to clean the outside cans? I've seen some cans.
They're nasty, right? Right. Yeah. Mother Nature. We're hoping that tomorrow's storm is really good. Our cans are not sprayed. We don't go power washing cans. It doesn't happen that way.
It's interesting, they power wash the bus stops late at night.
Only because there's a contract.
some
And the city of New York pays millions of dollars to Samusa. Millions. I do it with a sponge and some Dove. From Adidas. But yeah,
Any other questions for, yes, Carol?
On 25 West, seems to disappear, the old green wire.
on the park side of it or on the residential side of it?
The residential I know about, but there's a lot of people coming out of the park. We have one big cannon from the bit, and they change it. So we've had a lot of
If it's on the park side of the sidewalk, then it's not us, it's the Parks Department. But if it's the sidewalk on the other side, we can see if, you'd be surprised how our garbage cans get stolen daily or moved. And I'll give you a quick example. Today I was at an unveiling, a council member in Queens unveiled brand new garbage cans in the neighborhood. On that corner before the unveiling, we put one of these beautiful, the green ones, you know, the regular ones, and a regular wire one. As we're standing there in the middle of the press conference, you watch the store come out of his store, grab the can, and you hear him drag it away, and it made it disappear. And we're all looking at him going, what the? And he made that can disappear with us standing right there. So we can check to see if it's missing and if it should go back. Some of the cans we took away ourselves, because if a can is getting abused, you know, household garbage, we'll take it away. But if it's stolen for some odd reason, we'll put it back. That helps a lot.
Yes, sir.
I'll have the route checked and we'll see what's going on.
I just have one quick question. But are there still requirements that restaurants clean the sidewalks in front of their restaurant to get the black grease, the black top off of it?
Okay. The law is that you are to maintain your sidewalk. We don't tell you if you have to power wash it, not power wash it, bleach. We don't tell you that part. We just tell you that you have to make sure it's clean. You have to make sure it's clean of grease, you know, slippery. This colored cement, you know, we've seen that grayish, black, purplish cement sidewalk. That's not against the law. That's stained concrete. We know where that came from. That's not against the law. But grease on it, yeah, we'll give you a ticket for not being clean.
If you let me, you got one, Rich?
Yeah, I have one, not on the topic of garbage cans, though. On the topic of bike lanes.
That's not me.
Okay, even for sanitation.
I have nothing to do. Not
So,
until I become
so my
mayor of New York
issue
City.
is, let me just say my issue, which is, you know, this committee and the Department of Transportation has put a lot of effort into creating protected bike lanes. And there are Department of Sanitation trucks driving the protected bike lanes,
We have to.
which,
We have to, and under the rules and regulations, we're allowed to, for purposes of picking up the trash, not for, I gotta get from this, from this Dunkin' Donuts to that Starbucks, no. But for purposes of us cleaning up the streets and garbage and, because our mechanical brooms go down those areas too. Right, we're allowed to do that.
Hit the rules, and I've seen, for emergencies, I haven't seen a carve out for
It's
Department of Sanitation trucks.
Well, it's there, it's implied, because if we don't do what we do, it's not getting clean, because no one in New York is gonna clean it.
I mean, the street cleaners could make sense. The idea of having the collection trucks.
Well, the collection truck and the mechanical brooms are just off by that, not that much of a distance, in all seriousness. So our collection trucks do fit down that thing. They gotta be careful, obviously, the people, bikes, if anything, but we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, the point is that they're blocking the bike lanes and
fully understand.
forcing cyclists into the street.
So rather
I-
have them swinging in
I
every
understand.
corner and
I
swinging
understand,
out.
but we gotta think about that. And you're right, I don't wanna block bike lanes, I don't want my men and women to block, but they're 100% right. It's a lot more dangerous for my trucks to go up and down, to come in and out. There's a greater chance of us hitting somebody. I know it's an annoyance, but we'll be off that block quicker than you can imagine, in all seriousness. So we do our job, we'll move along. It's not the best of scenarios right now. We didn't want the bike lanes were put in, but we have to survive with the bike lanes. So, well, no, I'm the former sanitation. That has nothing to do with me.
We're not getting into that right now.
So that is it, but I was just saying, we have to do that to be.
It seems that the bike lanes are doing your workers a favor. It's
No.
giving them a safe space.
They would have had it anyway.
The alternative is to be out in traffic, to the left of the parked car, to the right of the parked cars, and to have to go back and forth.
We see many cyclists coming down
For much
Columbus
less
Avenue on the west side,
Nikki, thank you
and not
so
in the
much.
bike lane.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Customer service, never say one word.
Right.
We're never DOS. We're DSNY.
Sorry.
It's important that we all understand that. NYC.gov. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You could.
We are going to move, hello? I believe a lot of you are here for item number 2, which is what we are going to move into right now. The M86 select bus has caused a few changes on 86th Street, some of which I know that you would like to address. So Shlomo, come on up.
Okay, thank you. I asked to get on the agenda, so.
Thank you very much.
Wish I knew the trick.
Tell us your name, Chris. Sean?
Can't hear what you're saying, sir.
I represent the board at 10 West 86th Street.
What's your name?
Sure. And there's some other board members here, Clayton Hemmer and Barbara Novick. And Clayton would like to make some comments also. All right. But I'd like to start off.
Can you spell his last name? Can you spell your last name?
Say it again.
Can you spell your name?
Rosen, R-O-S-E-N. First name, S-H-O-L.
Oh, ow.
At my age, I'm hearing this. I'm gonna pass.
That's good. What's it is?
Can you do this, please? Sure. I'm having a tough time hearing you.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me now?
Great.
Okay, sorry. I just want to pass this out first to the board members.
We'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
There are 2 curbside bus only lanes on the 86th Street corridor for the M86 bus. There's one at 5th Avenue and 86th Street going west, and there's one at Central Park West and 86 going east. All right. It's the one going east that we are concerned about because it passes from the corner past our building at 10 West and beyond that. Okay. So I'd like to show you a picture of the lane. See that? That's a picture of the lane. The Lane itself goes for about 280 feet, and then there's a 30-foot extension that is an entry into the lane, which makes up 310 feet, which is more than a short city block, which is about 265 feet. There's enough room there to put 5 articulating buses. The second thing I'd like to show you, so if you've seen this, you can see how, if you look at one end, you can see what the bus looks like at the other end. I took that picture with one bus. Okay. I also took a, if you'll see in that, I took a, panorama of the shot, so you can see that the red part passes through 5 entrances to 5 buildings.
Let's show everybody here.
Including our building, I should mention, we are a 15-story, 30-unit building, full service, with lots of things going on at the building, and Clayton will talk about some of that. All the other, and I surveyed all the stops on the 86 line. None have been reconfigured except for ours. We're the only line that's been reconfigured. And
to be honest,
yes.
Did you go to the east side?
Yes.
Okay. You notice that the stops at Lexington and 3rd Avenue have been relocated?
They're on the other,
Yes, they're on the other side. That's because DOT is going to be building bus bulbs for the stops that formerly were occupied, and they can't do that now with if it's still a stop. So that's why they've relocated.
No, that I understand, but they basically have not extended the configuration on any of these stops.
But when the bus bulbs come in, it will be a whole different thing there.
Okay, but if they've extended it beyond the 2 buses, most of the stops are equivalent for 2 buses. They'll handle 2 buses. Okay, and when you get a third, you get maybe a little one of the back ends sticking out a little bit. But I've seen these buses, by the way, are the most adroit buses I've seen on the road. They can move up to an object within 3 or 4 feet and pull out. Right? I've seen one yesterday that pulled between 2 cabs on 86 going east, and pulled right in between them, nothing sticking out, and comes right out. So they're very, very good. And that's why we have our problem. Why do we have this gigantic lane? And everyone should understand that these bus-only lanes, these curbside bus-only lanes, are very restrictive in terms of what you can do. All right? I mean, you can't drop off goods. We have people in the building that want to pick up things to go away for the weekend, that have deliveries. They buy food with their car and park in front and unload. That's against the law, right? They're breaking the law. Now, the commercial vehicles, I walked up here, there was a UPS bus parked at the end, parked at the end, and I asked him, aren't you afraid of getting a ticket? He says, I get hundreds of tickets. He doesn't care. So in effect, the commercial vehicles are just going to park in there and block it, all right? And we're going to pay because we're not commercial. Now, one of the things that's very important to us is the safety now. Now you have a red line going in front. There are no vehicles there protecting the entrance to our building, and vehicles go by in the offset lane, but buses come zooming in. All right. Here's a picture I took Sunday night of a bus. All right, entering that lane. We have bought a Bushnell vector speed gun to check the speed. This bus is going 19 miles an hour as it passes our entrance. Now, one of the things they announced when they, yesterday at the, sure, go ahead, see that. I took that picture at 6 frames a second, so I got one going through. 19 miles an hour is 28 feet a second. 28 feet. You venture off on that, you got trouble. And I've seen people want to get cabs, all right, or just cross the street. That is dangerous. And the only thing you're not seeing in that picture is the wind blowing through your hair as it passes by.
What's this car? I didn't know.
All right, that car is parked in a no parking zone at the end. okay?
No, that's
That's right.
No, it stops here.
It is parked.
Oh,
And the reason that bus is so far away from our entrance, it's 2 feet away from the curb, is because it had to go by that car. If that car wasn't there, it would have come right along the curb. It's a license. I'm sure the goal of the bus drivers is to get to that bus stop as quickly as possible. And, you know, before, they would have to go around or by our building and into the bus stop. So by the time they're entering the bus stop, they're probably going 4 or 5 miles an hour or less. Now, it's like, as one of our shareholders said, it looks like a landing strip, and the buses are landing. They're not driving it. So this is really a big concern for us.
Can we hear from some of your other?
Yeah, yeah, but what I would like to do though, before I get the other folks out, because I've been pursuing this now for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, talking to Ms. Ryan, who is the district director here, to Joshua Orzik from the Department of Transportation, to Ms. Brent Jones, who is the commissioner. Yeah, we were on the site visit on Friday. My concern is, and here's the questions that I've asked. That's not your paper. The question is, the first one was, why, all right, why was this lane created? What's the reason behind it? And until Friday, I had no answers to these questions. I'm not gonna go through all of it, but I went to see Marissa Mack, who is Ms. Rosenthal's, Councilwoman Rosenthal's assistant, and she got a answer, and that's what the next 2 pages are. These are the answers from the Department of Transportation. And believe me, this is difficult because this is the Department of Transportation and the Metropolitan Transit Authority working together. The Department of Transportation is answerable to the city. I believe it's answerable to this committee also, in a sense that, right? They have some control.
We don't have that kind of.
Okay. All right, I'm just saying, but at least, you know, they come. The MTA has, you have no power at all.
Marissa Mack is here now.
Oh, Marissa, thank you. Okay, she was really good about that. And if you look at these questions, the key for us is, was there an alternative considered to extending this lane? And the answer, and I asked this to Ms. Franchione, the answer is no. All right? And there are alternatives. There is signal modification. There is the priority signaling that's supposed to be coming with this. There are a bunch of things, but yet they went willy-nilly to do this. All right?
You know, in Margaret's, I have to defend Margaret, but as somebody that was at the meeting with you and Margaret and some of the bus folks.
Right.
The situation in the middle of the summer is not exactly the same as it's going to be when summer is over. In particular, anybody that frequents this part of West 86th Street between Columbus and Central Park West after 3 p.m. sees a huge buildup of traffic approaching Central Park West. So as Margaret explained it, the traffic signal flow at Central Park West and 86th Street cycling favors the westbound traffic in that there is an advanced left turn for westbound traffic to go south on Central Park West, and then the traffic gets to go through 86th Street or to turn north on Central Park West. That has caused a severe backup of vehicles between Columbus and Central Park West, so much so that the buses cannot access the stop. This was an attempt to address that. Is the 280 feet long red bus lane too long? Quite possibly it is too long. Margaret has said that after the summer, when the traffic resumes to its normal routine, they will assess whether they need this. In addition, both of us mentioned traffic signal prioritization for the M86 SBS route, which would allow the bus to send off a signal to the traffic light at the corner of Central Park West, much as the one on the BX12 SBS along Fordham Road and Pelham Parkway does, and that would actually change the light and get the bus going through the park. They are looking at that, but that would involve a long adjustment of the entire light cycle, so they're not willing to commit to that. But they did tell Shalom that, and all of us that were at this very small little meeting, that that Mr. Rosen asked for, that they will be looking at the length of this lane. It is not by any stretch a done deal, and they're willing to look at it.
All right.
How does
Let me
accessorize
just
drop
clar-
more
Can I just
people?
clarify something? I didn't call this meeting. The meeting was called by Mr. Ryan.
Well, because of your
Oh, yeah, definitely. I started it. But the thing that bothers me is this, that there was no consideration how much longer would that bus take to go across the 86 corridor? She didn't know. They'd never done that. They had not simulated it.
But one of the features of an SBS route is that you have all forward fare collection and you have boarding through any of the 3 doors, which actually speeds the bus, gets it out of there quicker, and makes for a more even regularity of buses, all of which, by the way, is good for you.
Absolutely. I'm not against the SBS concept. In fact, the eastbound bus has more people boarding than getting off.
Sure.
The westbound bus at Central Park West has more people getting off than boarding because it's a subway.
Yeah.
So there's no question. We are in favor of the SBS. We are not against SBS. What we are against is putting that lane from Central Park West to New Jersey. That's what we're against, all right? We're not
opposed to that.
Okay, that's our problem. And if you look at the questions that I have there, you know, the issue of really spending some time that takes into account that you're impacting people on this, that live there. We live there 24 hours a day, and this is a big issue for us. The other piece of it is, when back in February 10th of this year, this committee was given a presentation about this change, this lane. The lane is much longer than what was presented.
It's always done.
All right?
Okay.
Not a little bit, a lot. It goes beyond. That lane only goes to the end of our building. You've got 3 more buildings involved after that, what they're doing today. And the thing that really disturbed me and got me disturbed, why I was supposedly shouting, I didn't feel I was, but I supposedly was I realized that the meeting that I was having last Friday should have been had 4 months ago. That when this committee found out that this was going to happen, nobody notified us. We woke up and discovered the end of June that this thing existed. We had no preparation. Now we're scrambling to try to get this. If we were working with the Department of Transportation before, we might have forced some of these issues 4 or 5 months ago. That's what's really disturbing to us, okay? And I want to say one more thing, because I'd like to bring Clayton up to talk about. Here he is. I just want to mention one more thing. The reason I asked for this meeting, meeting was Ms. Ryan at the end. Ms. Ryan told me twice that you can't do anything. All right? There's nothing you can do. And when I talked to Joshua Orzik from the Department of Transportation back in the end of June, when he was trying to basically push me off, the essence of our conversation is he told me to pound sand. He didn't use those words, but that's what he was saying. It's all done, you can't do anything about it. He said this was presented, and that's how I found out it was presented. This was presented to the the Transportation Committee of the Community Board, and they approved. That's what he told me. And then when I asked Ms. Ryan about this, she said that it was presented, but the board did not approve it, did not formally vote on it, okay? And when we get done tonight here, even though it's not binding anyway, I would like the board to vote on it so we know what position the board is taking on this. In other words, as we pursue this, I'd like to know what the board thinks of this, all right? And I don't know if any of you on the board are impacted by this, okay? All right, so.
We gotta let someone else talk now, because we're running it. We got a lot of people here for all sorts of things. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Shalom. I'll try to make this somewhat quick. I'll try to cover a turf that Shalom hasn't covered. I'm Clayton Hemrick, Clayton. Henmort. I live in the same building in Charlotte. So first of all, the SBS service is a great idea, but like any idea in a public or private sector, it comes down to execution, not just the idea. There's a million ideas that have been great ideas that people stood hard and fast for, and because of that, they failed. It's when you put the rubber to the road, you have to make some changes, you have to evolve, and that's what we're trying to impact that. So there's 3 points I want to make. One, Shalom talked on, and that is access. There are deliveries, there's moving vans, there's rides for people who are handicapped, there's rides for people who aren't handicapped. There's the St. Luke's Roosevelt Medical Facility. All these sit in this lane where it's illegal to park. I know you can drop off someone there. However, what if it's bad weather and you are dropping off someone who's in a wheelchair and you have to wheel them up into St. Luke's and you have to leave your car there for a moment? You're ticketed. The buses have cameras. They automatically are going to shoot your plate. They're going to give you a ticket. This law is being, from what I understand, expanded right now. Both houses of Albany have recently passed to extend and expand the bus cam law. And it's sitting on Governor Cuomo's desk as we speak. So there are a lot of people who are going to have to go through a lot of pain just to conduct their daily lives. And as Shalom said, when this started back in February, this was a surprise. We found out at the end of June, it's a big surprise. It was disappointing that the areas that were going to be impacted were never done. So access is one. Neighborhood. You guys all live in the neighborhood, I assume. You know the character of the neighborhood. You know there's people of all ages. In our building, in our neighborhood, there's people who are 80, 90, 95. They have walkers, they have canes. God bless them, they live on their own. But some of these people are not the most stable folks in the world. And God forbid, as they might be a little unstable towards that bus lane, and Shalom is not exaggerating, I have stood 2 feet from the curb. I stand out there every night now, and the buses fly by 2 feet away. God forbid, if someone who's a little unstable has a false move, because that's going to be gone in the heart. They're going to be gone in a heartbeat. Shalom mentioned how long it takes, how many feet it takes to stop a 20-ton bus going roughly 20 miles an hour.
Can I ask you a quick question, because I know it's going to come up? Before this red bus lane was here, there was parking here.
There was a buffer of parked cars, yes.
How would somebody get picked up or dropped off if there was a lane of parked cars?
There were 2 ways that seemed to happen, just from observing. One is the double park, which we know is illegal, but happens up and down 86th Street, including across the street from us at the school, where the school buses double park every morning and every afternoon. The other is to the right of us, there's a driveway, that's the entrance to a parking garage. And people would pull in there, and there's an apron that people could actually take their walkers down, and it's a little more accessible. And people from Roosevelt Hospital also seem to use that to get up and down that driveway. No, there's a gate.
It's an exit driveway, but that red line goes across.
Yeah.
Technically, but that you're still allowed to go into the driveway.
Oh, yeah, you can pull into the driveway to make a turn.
I'll tell you what most people do is park into the bus stop just beyond the driveway. They don't block the driveway. That's what
The driveway's between 10 and 12.
the driveway is between
257.
Orwell 257 and 8. Small building.
So what is the access? And again, this is not access during the high traffic times, let's say 7, 10, 3 to 6. This is a 24/7, 365 bus. The second point I want to make, it has to do with the neighborhood, the diversity of the people who live there. And I mentioned the old people, but it's a street where people and families run down, they're on their way to the park, they're on their way to the subway, they're on their way to the bus. They've got balls, they've got scooters, they've got every toy imaginable, the boys chasing the girl. And again, these are kids who are just, they don't know there's a 20-ton bus bearing down 2 feet away. They're just running willy-nilly around the sidewalk because they're kids. It's so unsafe. I'm frightened by it. And right. So anyway, there's no room for that.
Are there a lot of children in your building?
Can we complete the presentation? Some
Yep,
questions?
yes, there are children in our building, adult people in our building, it's a pretty wide mix.
The children in our
So-
building, we have at least 10 children in our building. They range from the age of 3 to the age of about 14. And my granddaughter comes every week. She'll be here tomorrow. She's going to be 4 years old. She spends the night with me.
So it's just gonna take one really, really unfortunate circumstance. Kid darted 2 feet off the curb for the Upper West Side to experience a mega tragedy, another pedestrian tragedy. We had 6 in 2014. That put us in New York City at the top 4 areas in New York City of pedestrian fatalities. Why? Why we want to, I would think we have learned our lesson. But, so I don't understand why we're creating another hazardous situation. And especially for a city that's bent on vision zero initiative, the bus lane is hardly, in a residential, is to reduce fatalities. So that's the character of our neighborhood. There are lots of pedestrians concentrated in this area, going to the park, going to the subway. There's kids, school kids coming off the subway or horsing around or on their way to BS down the block. But it seems like this plan, on the side, yeah, but they're horsing around, chasing each other, they're, after each other. So, there's limited access. There's suddenly our neighborhood where we suddenly have this bus lane that's more than the length of the football field. And suddenly the neighborhood kind of feels like it's being turned into the entrance of the Holland Tunnel. And when you get something like the Holland Tunnel, you get safety concerns because you get really large vehicles, heavy vehicles, moving a few feet away from pedestrians. So again, it's something that's completely at odds with Vision Zero. And I know that this is a city initiative, a city DOT initiative, it's not an MTA initiative. But I think these guys are working hand in hand when they implement something like this. So I'm sure there were countless studies that went into this plan. I'm not sure how many of those plans accounted for pedestrians. I'm sure almost all of them accounted for traffic. But it didn't account for pedestrians in the neighborhood.
I'm going to disagree with Clayton on this one. I don't think there were countless studies. I think that this was lost.
Right.
I
The way our studies-
and not thought it very well.
From the meeting that we had, we certainly learned that prior to having a bus lane here, and you can dispute the length that it should be, but prior to that, buses were caught in tons of traffic and did not get to the stop.
Look, I'll tell you right now, I live there. The traffic on that could build up not a third of the way, but all the way to Columbus, all right? Now, let me say this. I went to the press conference yesterday where Mr. Albert was, but when you were concentrating on that, I was concentrating on the buses coming from Amsterdam to Columbus. And I was timing them. The traffic at that time in the morning went from Columbus to Amsterdam. It took 4 cycles to get the bus down. This is not just a problem on our block. That's the issue. And it moves across. And the key thing to understand here from a cycling of the signal is that 20 seconds is cycled green out of Central Park West going east. All right? And 20 seconds is cycled from 86 on Columbus going into it. But they give an extra 10 seconds for left-hand turns off Columbus. So you have 30 seconds of traffic, or vehicular traffic coming into that corridor, and only 20 seconds getting out. And that's a formula for backing it up, plus the parking, the double parking.
But let's get people who have questions for you or Clayton. Rich?
I want to be clear on what you're proposing. And is the issue the length of the bus lane or the idea that the bus lane adjoins the sidewalk at all?
Okay. Our goal is to get that bus lane away from the front of our building. In other words, for somebody to come at night with black paint and paint it black, all right? And take off the no standing sign, which is over our canopy, all right? And it would be a nice thing that they actually fix the signage all along, because because there's a sign at the end, of 300 and some feet, that says this is a bus-only lane and a right turn lane, when the law says you can't enter that lane 200 feet for a right turn, all right? And there also is a sign there that says only left turns from the left turn lane, when that doesn't exist anymore, and it's right. I mean, the signage is terrible. What we want is to eliminate that bus lane past our building, okay?
But
That's
let
where
me
we
just
are.
jump in. The reason for that is a safety concern. Because those buses, and I think Shalom had a picture here, they're literally 2 feet and they are blasting by.
But
You've seen kids who would swing by the awnings. Oh,
is it more of a safety issue?
Safety.
It's
So
safety.
how does the length of the bus lane impact the safety? Because
those buses-
if it's shorter, won't there still be the same safety
No,
issue just
if
further
there are
down?
cars parked there, the buses go by the parked cars, and then they enter the bus lane 100 feet, 150 feet, not 300 feet. So they have to be going much slower when they enter that lane until they get to the curb, right? The bus stop itself is not an issue, okay? We're fine with the bus stop, and every other bus stop, it's just 2 buses long. It's more than enough to accommodate the buses getting in.
But I'm talking about from his standpoint of view, he's coming from a safety concern, not you're coming from a limp. He's coming from a safety.
trying not to duplicate what Shalom's doing.
I'm saying the same thing. What I'm saying is it's safer for the bus to enter the bus stop closer to the bus stop than way back.
Okay.
You mentioned a few minutes ago that office notes buses were backed up. One of the prime reasons is that there's no enforcement in that bus, the existing bus lane where we started. You have the guy who sells hot dogs who backs up in his van. The bus lane, you have people who stop to pick up hot dogs, taxi drivers from there. And you have vans that are dropping off stuff, supplies into the service building at Central Park West and 86.
Margaret inquired some, for all of the national brands, UPS, FedEx, and the contractor vehicles that are frequently on this block. So that may be something that would help speed traffic along this block as well. But in the meantime, questions for either Sholem or Clayton? Ken?
Well, just first a comment about it. I don't think the buses, unless there's a queue, and the buses have to go the entire length of that 260 or 80 foot distance. I was out there this afternoon. They don't just automatically pull in at the earliest opportunity to get in there. They go as they usually do. They just pull in to the regular bus stop. They're using the entire length is there in case there's a queue and a bus cannot get around cars that are in the adjacent lane. And if they couldn't get in there, they would be sitting for a couple of light cycles. And I don't know whether you know, but this bus line is mile per mile is most used in the city. In the system, 25,000. Yeah, because it's costing 25,000 riders per day.
I'd rather take that line than the
So-
M79, which is much worse. M86 is a much better line.
So it's a question of, my question is, I'm very surprised that you barely mentioned what I think is really the issue here, which is the loss of 7 parking spaces, private vehicles parking for free on the street. Isn't that really what it's about?
That's probably not the biggest issue. I'm glad you think it's the biggest issue. And the
Oh, I'm just surprised you haven't mentioned it.
I can tell you why I haven't mentioned it, because I don't have a car, all right? I'm like everyone else. I don't care that there's 7 parking spaces. I do care from a safety standpoint that those cars there protect us from that bus coming in. But the losses from a 7 car is something that I can tell you right now, the people that are involved with that bus lane, like 20 or so on, they're saying, well, you got a problem. You don't have a problem. The loss of the bus, the cars, is not a big deal, okay?
The loss of 7 parking spaces in a 5-block radius is nothing.
The big deal is that area that has an electric fence on it that says you can't stop a car and offload. This summer, we are going to replace our water tank upstairs. Where is that truck coming delivering the water tank? We are going to break up our sidewalk and repave our sidewalk. Where are those guys going to come from? we do local law 10 and 11 to do all of our things, they're gonna have to put
Well, there's an opportunity for a loading zone only 50 feet to the west.
I just
Where you
had 400 pounds of granite delivered for my new kitchen that I'm developing now. They're gonna build 50 feet for those 400 pounds of granite? I mean, it's just real. Get real.
Anyway.
The real thing is, this is an active building with lots of things going on.
We have a commitment from DOT to look at this, the length of this lane after the summer and see how the buses are proceeding, whether they can shorten the lane if they need this length of lane.
Summer's too late.
Ian, and then
Yeah.
Carol.
I have a basic question and then a comment based on that question. What is, Andrew, you know this, what is the length of a standard articulated bus?
62.
Okay, how long was the bus stop before the new one?
150. The
So,
bus stop.
The bus stop, 100.
the bus stop, yeah. Was that, so they've essentially, they've practically doubled it, okay. It seems to me, on the one hand, that this is the wrong solution to the problem. I think that the solutions which would be better would be the enforcement of not double parking and the light changes, because those two would actually have taken care of the problem. Obviously, DOT either can't or won't do that. Whatever the length of the bus stop, whatever else is true, I think it's absolutely unconscionable that DOT is somehow preventing these people from having a normal life in their building in terms of double parking if they need to, parking to unload, doing all these things that apparently they may end up getting tickets for. So, and let me finish. The only other than the 34th Street route, if I'm correct, that's the only other crosstown route, which is not really a residential route. All the other articulated routes are avenue routes where there are not a lot of residential buildings, or certainly not big ones. I don't think, it sounds to me like DOT did not really think about the fact that this is not 34th Street and it's not an avenue. This is a residential block. And I think that by not really looking at it, I think this is what seems to be coming out of this, is that there was no real consideration given to the community, quote unquote. And I think they really, you said there's a commitment to relook at it. I think it's a serious issue for these people. Forget about the length of it or whatever else is going on, that these people can't use their building legally in certain ways is absolutely unconscionable. It should not be happening. I agree.
Okay, we would thank you for supplying us with Marissa Mack's thoughtful commentary on this. And I just want to read a little bit out loud, because not everybody has access to what Helen Roosevelt's office, Marissa Mack, stated. In part, it does note that it was not an arbitrary decision to take 250 feet of the lane. The way it was determined was the average length of the eastbound traffic queue on that street during peak hours extended about 250 feet. So the New York City DOT used this analysis to determine the length of the bus lane to allow the bus to get into the stop, speeding the bus customers. In addition, passengers are allowed to be picked up and dropped off in the bus lane, in the bus stop, and along the bus lane. NYC DOT understands there's a concern about deliveries to buildings, although it is important to note that the prior condition of trucks blocking the bus stop and double parking the street was also not legal and would have subjected vehicle owners to summonses. NYC DOT is exploring ways to add additional commercial loading along this block to aid deliveries to buildings and to address double parking along the. I recognize building has legitimate concerns, but I am unhappy that Margaret Forgione is being cast as a short-term thinker, fly-by-night, a person when we've worked with her, and in many cases, she's done some very thoughtful work. Clearly, they're looking to make some adjustments here, and they recognize some of the issues. So I appreciate you coming to do this, and I look forward to working with you.
Okay. Good. Hey, Harold, you were next.
Okay, if this lane is so far.
So what?
Yeah. Why did they pick?
Because the traffic buildup was from Central Park west to Columbus on a lot of days, especially in the afternoon. That's why the buses could not get into the stop and had to be out here and blocking even more traffic, and so they gave the bus a way to get to the curb quicker.
By the way, there was some great documentation yesterday from the press conference on the DOT's Twitter feed, where they showed some pictures of the ceremony and everything. And they showed a bus that was loading. That bus was backed up into a lane that cars are supposed to go, and the bus was blocking the lane.
Yesterday,
So
I have to tell you, was a very atypical day on 86th Street. There were all these vehicles from the division of buses, from DOT, and they were all blocking traffic. So it was a very atypical day. I hope you don't go by yesterday. Dave.
But Andrew, that's part of the problem that we've had at this community board for many, many years, where DOT is not forthright with us. DOT does not tell us the truth. DOT never comes to us and says, well, this is when the surveys were done, this is what the surveys were. They don't do any of that. They tell us they're going to do things and they don't. So I don't feel very positive, and I don't think you can actually support the fact that Margaret has done great things and community-minded things for us. I just don't see it.
Oh, okay.
So do these issues that you raise apply to 2 and 8 West 86th Street, or only to 10?
8 is the first building after the driveway.
Okay, but do these issues apply to 2 West 86th Street?
They
Let's
apply
see.
to 5 buildings, starting with 8 building.
Why do they not apply to 2 West 86th Street?
Okay, let me explain. What you call 2 West 86th Street is actually 257
Use the microphone,
Northwest. The entrance, there are 2 entrances up to that building on 86th Street. One is the Roosevelt St. Luke's Clinic, and the other is the service entrance to the building. And so, in fact, at our meeting, the super from the building took part with us. They have lots of deliveries and taking food and taking out. For example, he said there's 10 demolitions going on. So when we were having our meeting, we had a truck all the way down at the end of this thing where they were carrying bags of refuse out of the building, way down the block. He was not happy about that at all. So what you say is 2 is really the Orwell.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the picture. It says that entrance is labeled 2 West 86th.
Yeah, but it's a service
Yeah.
entrance. It's not a main.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Parked cars are a really good thing for safety. You know, like Juma says, you have children who are coming out of the building. A toddler, one bad mistake, is you don't have a buffer of the cars there, it's over. I like cars parked in front of buildings where you can. So an unnecessary extra space that they're trying to carve out here, but people at risk. And for Vision Zero, I think that's.
What about a loading zone for several of these buildings? How would that be? So they could get deliveries, they could get drop-offs, they could get
It's
all of
still
that.
not solving the problem of the cars acting as a buffer. Like for these bike lanes, just not to switch it up.
Are you saying that you're afraid a bus is going to go careening and go on the sidewalk?
My understanding is the bus is coming right next to the sidewalk, and it's coming by pretty quick.
They do that on avenues all over the city.
Avenues, it's not so residential. These streets are more residential. I have young children. I would really have a problem with them making one false mistake and it's over.
Have we ever had a case?
Residential.
Yeah.
It's very residential.
There have been cases of private vehicles jumping a sidewalk.
I'm not talking about jumping the sidewalk. I'm talking about my daughter making a mistake and just going one step off the curb. That's it. If you have cars there as a nice buffer from the city traffic, you're good.
The bus is
No one's
going a lot
wishing.
slower than a private car, I'll tell you that.
No. The cars are parked. Were there parked cars there before? Am I understanding this wrong?
We're gonna have
Yeah,
to,
the parked cars are the buffer.
I understand where you're coming from. The last thing, there was a long bus stop and then there was a row of parked cars. Yeah. And buses were backed up, so, I think the thing to do is to let DOT do their evaluation after the summer's over and revisit this. I think that's what we have to do. I don't think they're even gonna do
During
it.
the summer, that's a time of least amount of
It's the
traffic.
speed of the buses.
Yes, you see, the summer has the least amount of traffic.
Right, so this is where DOT, I think, does a disservice. They they did the thing with the bus lanes at 4 o'clock in the morning. And of course, there were no cars around, very few. And I think that that's wrong. I think that this is, as Jeremy points out, this is a community, but unfortunately, we're just treated so poorly. We're treated much more poorly than, let's say, the store owners. We're treated, you know, we talk about, let's put a loading zone here and let's do this here. I think
Dave,
we have-
I'm not here to defend DOT by any means, but people on both sides of the park, both CB7 and CB8, wanted an SBS route on 86th Street because this route has become so irregular. You know what the dwell time was at Lexington Avenue. The bus is sitting there 5 minutes, the next bus is back, it's come and joined it already. Sometimes the third bus is
Right,
there,
but
and then you got
72
long gaps.
72 is
This
that
should
way?
make the bus much more regular. If there's tweaking we can do around the edges to make more folks happy, we're gonna try to do it. But we're not, you know, we don't have the final say on this. The bus should sit shorter time at Central Park West with everybody, and so it should move out quicker, and you should not have traffic build up like you did before.
Hopefully
Which
that
we have
won't
to
be,
see.
that won't be the expense of the safety.
I agree.
People who would
It should not be, anything should not be concerned. Yes, sir.
When you say after the summer, what does that actually mean?
September.
September.
When school's back in session.
Exactly. When people's commutation and patterns, normal daily patterns.
Not tomorrow never comes.
No, definitely not.
Well, we don't know that.
One more, and then we really do have to move on, unless the committee would like to do something else. Yes, ma'am.
Why is it so unattainable to have the DOT be at a community board meeting and actually hear what we have to say? How dare they walk right over us and disregard the needs in the community?
They come to many meetings. I don't know why they're not here this evening, but they certainly do it.
I do know why they weren't here this evening, because I spoke with them for an hour.
Please enlighten us.
Enlighten you, okay, it was Josh Orzick, who is our representative, who does not want to deal with this. And he was very polite, I was polite, I am here for a different purpose, for the 81st Street problem.
Yes.
He would not show up,
I
period.
can't speak for Josh. I'm sorry.
No, I know you can't, but I think it
I know, I
would
heard about
it would be totally important,
it. Let me
For
just
the
assure you,
community
we will
board.
follow up on this.
please.
You have our word.
I mean, I think it would be a
We do have to
great
move on.
idea if all of us met on 86th Street and just sat in the bus lane. And let's see what he's gonna do. When you wanna do it.
Thank you very much.
Armed resistance.
Absolutely.
Let me just finish this show, let me finish this up here, Jan, please. Let me finish this sum up here, that this lane was put in to look to speed the buses along the route. I haven't heard much argument against the idea of having an M86 that's the yes route. What we're talking about, it seems most people are in favor of moving the buses faster with regard to that. There seems to be some dispute about whether the bus lane perhaps is necessary. There are good reasons why it is. There are also good reasons that have been raised why maybe in its current form there needs to be something changed. There's been a question raised about, well, why are they looking at it this time of year? Everybody go out and watch it. The problem, if you see this time of year, that the buses are backing up and it's not helping to solve the problem it's intended to, we want to hear about that because it's happening at a time of year with relatively less traffic. That's a positive thing to report. There is some question of, is it safer, is it not, where the buses are running closer to the curb? That's certainly a valid issue. That is a valid issue for access to the buildings. It's also a valid issue to move mass transportation through. Let's watch this. Let's see that we can find a way to make this work successfully for the transportation and for the neighborhood. And we all have a job to do. Please keep reporting back to us on what you see.
Well, thank you for taking your time, but I really believe that the DOT in this case is trying to run us. And I can only say one thing, we are not going to stop. We would like to have your support, but we are not going to stop.
I agree. We're
not stopping.
I'm up in my, and
Thank you.
I'm on 73rd Street.
Are several folks here to talk about the proposed city bike locations?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just, as a prelude to that, we asked Motivate to attend tonight's meeting. They could not attend. And they're not the ones, please wait, they're not the ones that cite these things. That's the Department of Transportation. We wanted to Motivate to answer some questions that we thought should be answered prior to the installation of City Bike in our neighborhood. And so,
What is Motivate?
Motivate is the name of the company that is operating City Bike.
Sponsored by Citibank?
That's one of them, I think Goldman Sachs has money in it. There's a whole bunch of
Citibank's
companies.
the main sponsor.
Sorry?
One of the health clubs.
Howard, what did you say?
Citibank's clearly the main sponsor.
It's got their name on it.
Why do you
so
think that?
it better be
One of the health clubs.
Yes, sir.
Just one question. I've heard some different information as to the specific locations being discussed. Can you start by just mentioning the specific location?
We get an understanding of what can be accomplished, right? If USC's not here, Motivate's not here, just before you answer, sure, a lot of us are new to these type of board meetings, it's taking a lot of time, and I commend you for all the tremendous amount of time you dedicate to our city, I really do. But I think a lot of us just want to feel as though it's time well spent, we're actually gonna accomplish something. To spend the next X amount of time talking with one another and have them nowhere, sure, that's just.
So, the process that has occurred correctly, or anybody here. DOT came and presented our board and actually Upper East Side board with the same number of proposed locations, 39. In our case, it's from 59 to 110 feet, Central Park to the Hudson. We divvied up the locations and teams of us went out and looked at the proposed sites. Of the 39, approximately 24 we thought would probably be okay. The other 15 required a little bit further inspection. Some disagreed on what should happen to those 15. We suggested minor moves to DOT. Out of that 15, they agreed to move 3. The 3 that they agreed to move are the one that was to be on 79th Street on the west side of Riverside Drive between 78th and 79th, which the DOT agreed was an insane place for a bike location because as you exit the Henry Hudson Parkway, you're going to be right on top of it immediately. So that will be moved a block south. Right. The other.
Let's let him finish, please.
There's a letter out.
The letter back here.
Okay, let me just finish that. The other one was to have been on the north side of 84th Street between Broadway and West End. That will be moved to the south side of 84th Street, just east of Broadway, by the wall of the movie theater. And the last one that they agreed to move was at the very strict urging of the 24th Precinct, which was to have been on the north side of 100th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam. It will now be on the north side of 100th Street between Columbus and Manhattan Avenue. Those are the only 3 they have agreed to move. The district manager has gotten tons of emails and calls, as have representatives of elected officials, and that's, I assume, why a lot of you folks are here tonight, because some of them are not yet moved. Howard.
Point of information, they came out with a list of sites. Are they still soliciting comments? So what's the point? Not to seem rude, what's the point of this discussion?
No, Howard, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks have asked that question, and just because they say, no, we're not gonna make any further consideration, doesn't mean we have to settle for that. If the neighborhood feels that these are incorrect for a reason, or, you know, why should we stop? We're representing.
So what's your next step?
The next step is to listen to you folks tonight, get the locations which you're talking about. One of the ones that to me was absolutely insane was the north side of 81st Street, just west of. I went out with a tape measure and I measured if you have a bike stand taking up the parking lane and you pull a bike out, you are going to be in a traffic lane. There's just no way around it. By a crosstown bus or a Riverdale bus. This isn't even safe for the biker.
Or one of the 5 million school buses that are going
So,
down
you know,
the hill.
that's one of the ones that, so I don't want to single that one out. So let's let everybody, let's let everybody speak. And we did ask, motivate 10 questions, which we think were important, and we got answers to just about every one of them. Rich.
I don't know your name. Peter. Peter asked the question of, is there a point to this discussion? And I think, or what can be accomplished? So speaking for myself and not anyone else in the committee, I think given the amount of effort that went in to the feedback that we gave to DOT and the fact that they changed 3 sites, I think managing expectations, it's going to be an uphill battle. That's not to say, like Andrew just said, that we shouldn't try and continue to give feedback.
So they
But-
talk about managing expectations.
That I'm speaking completely on myself. That
Yes.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't continue to have the conversation. I think my perception, and I'm speaking for myself, is that so much effort went into giving feedback, and they moved 3 sites. So I don't know that there's a huge willingness to hear more feedback.
Can we have some process here,
One at a
please?
time, please.
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
So my question,
Please.
Can we have some process, please?
Can't hear if we don't hear one at a time.
I have a question. And the
Sure.
question is, how did you communicate your concerns to the DOT? By letter? Okay, my understanding is that the CB, a community board on the east side, as its entirety, made a resolution to the sites it didn't want. So as opposed to just the transportation committee making recommendations, the board as a whole made a resolution. And maybe that's more effective than just sending a letter.
You know, I don't know that it is, but it's
Well, it worked.
it's a possibility. I don't know that it worked. They didn't make too many changes on the Upper East Side either. They're loath to make changes because the company, Motivate, wants, you know, a good geographic spread. But we didn't say, don't build it. We said, move it a block this way, or move it around the corner this way. So, you know.
Motivate works for DOT, and DOT responds to, sponsors. There are.
Look,
Can't hear you. They respond for the community?
yeah,
Is that what
Jan.
you just said?
Just one at a time.
There's a process here.
We need to
Please
hear.
let the process occur.
Excuse me, First of all, I would like to know, may we have a copy of those questions that you proposed to motivate, or is that?
Yeah, we didn't, Penny didn't, was only able to make enough for us, but you certainly have,
Oh,
look at them, sure.
That's number
I was
one.
gonna read them out, so everybody could hear
Well,
them.
all right, fine. I'll have my say and sit down and do that. I don't understand why our objection to the proposal for Central Park West between 71st and 72nd, which is so crowded, which has a food cart on the corner and access to the park, people getting into petty bikes, tourists coming off the tour buses and going into the park to see strawberry fields. I don't understand why that wasn't rationale enough. We said don't. We didn't say we don't want it here. We said move it up to 73rd Street. Put it north of 73rd. You can still get to the crosstown bus. You can still get on the subway, and you certainly can get in the park.
We
So-
made that suggestion, Jan.
Well, I don't understand their rationale. First of all, how many bikes are going to be stationed there? Do we know?
We don't have it by location yet.
They have said,
They didn't announce
that the standard location is going to be about 35 bikes.
35 bikes.
And it's about 80 feet long.
I mean, I believe, Andrew, you came and looked at that site. I can tell you that it is really, really a traffic jam. And you don't need people coming in and out with bikes to interfere with a heavy pedestrian flow. There are a lot of tourists there.
Like I said,
I
we're
mean, I
not
don't
finished
understand
yet.
why they are so resistant. We didn't say, absolutely not, we don't want it anywhere in the 70s, you gotta move it out. We said, move it to 73rd Street. What is the problem?
Why are they so recalcitrant? Why is it they won't listen to us? I mean,
I gotta hear one at a time, or it's no good.
excuse me, I'm living in that neighborhood almost 40 years. I worked very hard to make sure we got a historic district there. We pay our taxes, we keep our property nice, we put up with the tour buses and all of the pedestrian volume and vehicle volume. And when we make a simple request, move it up 2 blocks, it's impossible. They can't do it. Motivate something or other. I'm sorry, Andrew, you know, I served on this board for 20 years. I paid my dues. And I don't understand it, and don't take it personally, but I don't understand why DOT just, that's it. With no erasers on our pencils, that's what it's going to be. You don't like it, it's going to be there.
Yeah, actually, the point in bringing these locations to a community board was to get local knowledge, some things that might not have been immediately apparent when DOT goes out and makes a visit at one time of the day. So, you know, I'm as disheartened as you are.
Well, what can we do about it?
It's just a point of information.
What can
Point of
we
it,
do
you asked
about
us
it?
why DOT is not responding. We don't know. We wrote the letter, and wait a minute, I just want to make this very important point. Rich was making it before. We submitted this as they requested. We responded. We collected an exhaustive process that was hastily done, and there was an addendum sent. In any event, we collected all the information, and they did what they did. So we're as baffled as you are.
Let me, for the record, say that it is very discouraging these days to try to deal with the city agencies because they do not listen to us. Never mind we pay the taxes, never mind we pay their salaries. They are very, very unresponsive. So I have to think that there must be a reason for this. It isn't just the agencies acting up. And I think the community board should send a letter and maybe pass a resolution to the full board saying this is not satisfactory. People don't understand the reasons why you would not listen to a reasoned suggestion to relocate something a few blocks north or elsewhere. I don't understand it.
Go ahead, Joanne, as a former board member.
After the last meeting in June, we took it to heart, we listened. As you know, there's a lot of community opposition to the site on 67th Street in Central Park West. It's crowded, there was the playground, so on. We went around very carefully. We found a great spot, a block south, with a wide, outside of the wall, with a wide sidewalk, with a ramp access right into the park, with the same access on 67th Street. You guys thought it was good. And there's a whole, we've had petitions, there are many people who are very afraid of the one on 67th Street. And I have the same question as Jim. This is ridiculous. We're asking to move the thing to be a block away from the playground. It's a safer site for the bicycles. It's a better site. It won't bother anybody. It's outside the wall. It's got great access to the park. We don't understand how they could possibly, it's the same area, how they can possibly not accept a better site as, well, we want to know what we can do about it. I'm amazed that they're so not responsive. And I'm hoping that, I assume you guys gave them our new proposal too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
I can't speak for DOT, but I think I might know what's behind their just going ahead and doing this. And that is that moving these things takes about an hour or two. And there have been predictions, you know, that this particular site is going to result in disaster. And then there are other people who think, no, it's not going to be a problem. So
let him finish.
It's not a debate. We're listening to any other.
Even if it's a debate, you got to let me go. So I think they're thinking maybe, well, let's put it down and see who's right, see if the problems are going to materialize that people are going to predict. And believe me, these are a lot easier to move than a bus lane that we were just talking about before. In an hour, 2 hours, you can move them. So I think that might be what they're thinking.
I can't, I mean, everyone's against the site and it's simply moving it not very many feet and would shut everybody up. So we're going to wait for
Can we let this gentleman speak where I can excuse me? Then you'll be next. Let this gentleman speak.
My turn?
Yeah,
Next.
go ahead.
Hi.
And a former board.
I'm a former board, my name is Brian Bird, I'm a former board member, so I've been sitting through a lot of these types of things. The one thing that, I could tell you about the safety issue between the 77, West 77 to West 78 new location in a spot where it's actually a part where there is no sidewalk, but I'll just put that in writing for you. But the thing that is coming to my mind, from my years being on the board, is if what we're currently doing is not working, then what should we be doing differently? I mean, instead, if they're not being responsive to the community board, then should all of us in this room and in our buildings should be directly contacting DOT and inundating and sort of doing a John Oliver and just inundating them with all sorts of messages on a daily basis until we finally get some sort of an answer or a response. Because clearly I don't think that the way that we expect them as taxpayers to behave is going to work.
Right.
So that means that we have to do something drastically different. And I think it's just inundating everyone, and it can be the same email. Who cares? I used to be a lobbyist. I used to do all of that. It could be the same email with the same messages. You can just put a different signature on it, your signature on it, and you can do it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, whenever time you have. You just send it to them, or you place a call when you're eating your lunch at your desk, or something or other, just to give a sort of a critical mass. And I think that, just this type of situation where the voice of the public really has to sort of stand up and be heard and do things differently.
So, just in response to Ken, when we talk about how DOT will come and remove it, when they see it doesn't work. Remember, they were going to remove the bicycle lane on 106th Street, and that didn't work, and that never got removed. So the problem.
That doesn't take an hour and a half to
The problem, no, it takes a lot less because you said that it takes.
Excuse me, we're not having a debate, David.
Don't forget, and I think that the gentleman, I think that all the people that are speaking about something different has to happen. I think one of the things that one might consider would be, since this board represents this community, so maybe this board should all get up and resign en masse and make it into a news story. Once it gets into the news, then the news is going to go after the DOT commissioner, they're going to go after the police, the press will become your ally as opposed to the public.
And give up all this great pay?
Right, and give up all the
I'd like to propose a resolution that we all resign en masse.
I mean, that's a nice thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I absolutely agree, but I think you should take it one step further. I live at 77 50 Riverside, so I'm directly impacted by this. But I think that also being across the street from the city bike location in Midtown and see the havoc that it's wrecked on the street and commercial traffic is that as community board, because you don't want to see them on the bike on the other west side. Because they've got the financial incentive to make it right.
Okay, I'm going to pipe in and say something there. This board has not had a discussion at any time as to whether city bike is appropriate or not appropriate for the west side. That has not taken place. That is not something that we've considered as a board. The impetus for putting this out is a mayoral action from a couple of years ago when City Bike began. It's an agency that they're looking to have succeed, and it's here without any commentary by this board. There are many people who think it's a terrific thing. There are many people who may have some doubts about that. That's not something that we're debating. What came up before us is something which was the sighting. The sighting that was here, we heard earlier in the year we were going to hear about where they were going to be. There were a couple of things where they reached out to find out where might be good sites. There were 2-hour meetings. There were
community workshops.
There was a community workshop with that. There's some people who were interested who were there, maybe many people. The website allowed you to go on and be able to say, here's a great site to have it. There was certainly a lack in being able to gather input in any meaningful manner to get feedback after someone, or even they suggested a site, to be able to have anyone vet it at a local level until the recent proposal was came through. We went out and looked at the different sites. We have not made a resolution here because we were cut short in the time in which to respond. We responded with the best that we could, that we went to see the sites, suggested moves. We expected this meeting to hear to be continued vetting of it and perhaps come up with a resolution approving some of those sites or not, and expected to hear from the public before that happened. DOT put out a final list. This is where at this point they're going. We don't know exactly when they're going in. We hear that toward August, it's a loose date because we just don't know. We've heard that those things will go in up through around 86th Street. That probably means that the ones above 86th Street may not go in until the spring of next year. We don't know, all right? If Motivate can move faster, if DOT can move faster, they may come sooner. If things go more slowly for them, it's conceivable, though there's no promises in any fashion, that none of them may be out until next year. But I'm not promising you anything in that regard. They've announced the final plan for what they've agreed to move 3 sites. If you disagree with what they've done, as he said, get your input out there. You can write to DOT, you can write to your elected representative, you can write to this board about what your thoughts are about the different sites. If you disagree what our opinion has been about those sites, you can write to the community board, you can write to the elected.
What is this community board do?
What it means.
That's the bottom line. What is this community do? Follow up.
Our feedback is not only,
We're
typically
advisory.
read, it's advisory. They may have other questions.
Websites, et cetera, right? So that process is gone through, right? And here's where we are. So to go back and say things been done by providing recommendations, helpful feedback, really that didn't work the first time. Why are you doing it right?
What else is there?
There's a suggestion made, helping us. There's a suggestion made from the or investigate, directed me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Too tired to motivate. That's something I would look into. Motivated officers. Okay. Citibank is the type of sponsor, Master type of sponsor. They have people that care about business, right? From this local community, there are absolutely people that care about what not be a people, right? And not the other person that we're going to think about targeting. To me, I'm happy to that whoever wants to be on a committee, I'm happy to be part of it to actually do something about this more practical perspective.
Can we get an idea from the folks that are here tonight, which sites? Okay.
Raise your hand, how many of you are concerned about the 81st?
Wow.
Okay. Wait. Count.
Do we even count?
This is important, this is helpful.
Does everyone get one vote?
Is anyone behind the thing?
No.
Yeah,
Rich, you get 39.
There's 2 people left. There's 2 people left.
Okay, 624 then.
Okay.
67th.
67th and Central
I'm
Park.
in behalf of the boards of the 5 buildings here. And we've all said.
Other sites?
71st and 72nd on DPW.
77th and 78th.
What was the
Wait,
first,
wait.
what was your first one you said, Miss?
And is that the only person there for that? Nobody else is there for that?
Roger, which one? Oh, okay.
By the way, I don't want to ask a foolish question here, but of those 3 sites, is there anybody who raised their hand who is extremely in favor of those sites? Okay, thank you.
But you did get to 77, West 77th and West 78th.
West 77.
Mark?
That's the new location where it's bad. That's the
91st.
one where we're upset.
Anybody else?
And Riverside.
Wait.
Hang on.
One at a time.
Gotta do one time to get that. Mark, you're in favor or opposed to that site?
I've been heard about it, and I've been contacted by colleagues of the office on either side. It's right on that corner of Joe Park and Park.
Actually, Mark, 91st and Riverside Drive was one of the sites I inspected, and it was one of the ones that seemed to me a real possible safety hazard. Riverside Drive has a rise there. One of the questions we asked Motivate was, are these bike stands lit in any way, or do they rely on ambient light? The answer is they rely on ambient light.
77, 78, and Riverside Drive.
I'm representing my building as well.
Ryan, which one is that?
52 Riverside Drive, and then
50.
50 Riverside Drive. We're on the
No, I thought Andrew, I mean, what are
And
you talking about?
77, 78th Street. Who's here for that?
77, 78.
That's part of Riverside, Drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
7.
And how many in favor of that site? I got
140 people, residents of 115 Central Park West, sent in objections to 74. And I believe there was also from Mayfair Tower.
I know Tara Klein from State Senator Horman's office got a lot of mail about it.
You've got 200 on this. And there were many people who lined up on 77th Street.
I gotta get one at a time or it's no good. Say that again?
Many people have been emailing Helen's office, and Marissa has responded to ensure as many as she could to get back. And what we've been told is that in the event if something horrible happens, don't move it. We don't want that to happen.
Right. We hope not.
Well,
Yes, Councilman Blotman?
One thing I wanted to mention, I'm here also representing, the Peter Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association, which is on Columbus and Central Park West. And we just want to note that we had an objection to both of them to move the site onto that lot and give other alternatives in the area. So, there were issues with the 81st Street stop, but also we needed other.
All of the arguments presented by the 86th Street people apply to 81st Street, that's across.
They also apply to Riverside Drive.
Yeah,
They're
fine,
fine,
fine.
fine. Here's the gentleman. Here's the problem that I see as an ex-engineer. The company presented a 30-bike module. This animal that moves into the group. If they had, for instance, a 4-bike and a 4-bike, all could be connected. Let me explain. I went and waited the ticket for the park. And sitting there on 81st Street, there are benches. And in between the benches, there's like 10 feet with 3 bikes. And then if you go up from 81st to 86th Street, you could get 60 bikes there. The problem that I see, because I looked at all the sites, and I've been at every meeting, and I must commend you all. You did a fabulous job of vetting. You haven't been but that would be Amsterdam bike. But my point is that this is a huge dinosaur that's going to be presented in the middle of a block. Perhaps the company would come up with a small module. The fact that it's not going to take out 80 feet.
I asked for that, and one of the questions we asked Motivate was, are smaller stands available, or are all stands one size fits all? And the answer was, the number of docking points for each station is determined by DOT based on an analysis of local conditions.
Right.
Hang on.
Excuse me, they say we need. Excuse me, sir. To follow up with what Andrew just said on that, as we answer to Motivate, we have also, we have heard from DOT that they're following the business plan from Motivate, and what Motivate has asked for. They are constrained by what they want to do. We have been told, and I'm not saying this is a good reason or it's a bad reason to do things the way they're doing them, but we have been told by them that the communications and the main module for each of those racks of stations is extremely expensive. So they want to have lots of bikes connected at each station. The cost factor, it may be some other factor, some other business factor that's there. We don't really know why they can't have smaller, why they can't have larger, or if they really can't have. But that's kind of where it is at this point.
Well, you asked what we can do. I work for a public agency in school, 311 and ATD. I get phone calls from my school from neighborhoods, 311. The other thing I would say is, you're Upper West Siders, you just do a great history. We talked about 86th Street going in the street. If they put a bike stand there and no one uses it, that bike stand will go away. If we somehow affect people, that bike stand will go away. No,
Oh, we
Sean?
nothing is good.
And definitely.
I'm sorry, Sean has the floor.
They said that they didn't require it, but I can't for the life of me understand why. This is a new fact. It isn't new fact in any neighborhood that put these guys back. Right. If you get or survey, or you know, environment, at least if you know impact is real. That's a way of being able to avoid something through that GIS. But at any rate, that's a question that should be brought up in that whole thing. We did not do that for bicycle lanes. Stand by stand, but you just collect. That's a suggestion.
We are. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know whether this is feasible. However, I don't know whether most of you know that the Upper West Side has the largest seasoned citizen population in the city. That is a consideration of slow moving traffic. But I think, based on what I don't know how many of you would be willing, but I think we ought to get a large enough group of people to march into this DOT or to motivate offices. If they won't come to us, we'll go to them. But let's get something accomplished with them in our face, because this is, as far as I'm concerned, they've disregarded everything that's been proposed up until now, and they are just not caring about us.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
you know,
I'm done.
if they had taken some of our suggestions and moved them in a very short distance, they could have avoided all of this, but they chose not to do that, so.
Can we,
You know,
can
we're
we go
open,
and
Ian,
see them?
then we're gonna move to some sort of, resolution on that.
Yeah,
Right to the mayor.
Setting aside all the things that have been said so far, I did my own site visit, all the ones between 59 and 77.
We got a lot of time on your hands.
Well, I did it by bike. So, and I went the right way on the one-way street, so.
Good for you.
I did find, setting aside all the ones that like 81st Street that I'm opposed to for other reasons, I found at least 2 sites that you can't put them at because there's construction going on right now. Big buildings and there's all kinds of, you know, the big containers and stuff. So I'm not even sure how they even approach, you know, it might be months, years before they can get to those sites. So I don't know if they're gonna go in. I do wanna say, I was a part of this board for many years as well. I love Margaret. I know her as long as anybody here. I was at the meeting that was at Goddard when she came with the proposal. And based on what she said there and what's happening here, she is not living up to the promises that she made. Right. On this particular case, I think she has done good things in the neighborhood. I think sometimes it's a little inconsistent. This one, she is absolutely failing this neighborhood. I was there for every meeting, and I think this is really just, I'm shocked, really shocked that this is going on here. So I agree with the people here. I think in addition, I think there are a lot of things we can do. I think we do need to have a stronger voice from the committee and perhaps the full board to Margaret saying, look, there's a lot of issue here. We have a lot of people. We have so on. I think the ideas of going to the companies is a good one. I think the idea of perhaps going to the press is a good one. I think we need to use every possible outlet and avenue because this is not an acceptable situation.
Yes, sir. And then Ethel.
I took this picture this afternoon at the 8th Avenue and the 33rd Street.
8th Avenue and 33rd Street?
There's a bike station there.
That's bigger than we're gonna get, I hope.
Okay, so this is if we treat the 8th Avenue as a Columbus Avenue, I don't see any point they put any bike station in the street, not in Columbus Avenue. Because the bike path right on the Columbus Avenue. Yep. And all those bike stations should be next to the bypass. So,
The difference is,
so why they?
sir, on this side of the street, in this particular location, post office, it's not stores with deliveries all the time. That's a big difference. This is like a phalanx against being able to make deliveries here.
We're also talking,
Take a look at this, folks. I know this location.
this is right in front of Penn Station, so it's a very prime spot.
And the same thing, that is moving behind. Why they cannot put the station?
Museum is gonna have construction. They're putting on a new building. And it's not clear where the equipment and the staging will be yet.
That's not a reason.
But we suggest, we may alternate
Yeah,
together.
I think that this is, they should
Ethel was next.
PK is their design.
Yeah, no, this is unbelievable. Ethel. Thank you, Aaron.
I think it's one of the biggest things.
I haven't been part of these discussions, though I'm a member of the community board. But a lot of very sensible and important things were said tonight. I would like to suggest 3 or 4 things that I heard from many of the people. First, for the community board immediately, which is within your power, doesn't mean you're going to have the effect, but not to do it is a big mistake. And that is immediately take the 6 or 7 major locations that were described tonight, that most people agreed on, or that seem to be so agreed with, or for which several of you or the board offered small modifications and nobody listened. Do that immediately. Describe that in a really major letter being to get it to them immediately. At the same time, with the chair, release it to the press as quickly as possible, stating the underlying point being, we all believe in bicycles, we're in favor of reducing pollution and so on. However, just based upon certain criteria that were established by the company and DOT. And although they have stated that there will be local input, there has been a minimum of that. For example, and I happen to know that the people on this board, excuse me, when they were given the deadline, they really were working day and night to respond to it. In fact, Penny in the office, the chair, the 2 chairs, because they said, what's going on here? They're giving us an inviolable deadline, which DOT should not have done. And they made it even shorter. So that's what the people here, I think everybody worked like hell, and we all love Margaret, but this has been a lousy decision. So that's my number 1, what the board needs to do right away, and it's legitimate. Secondly, I already said this, but separately, all the people in this room and the public should in fact be doing some of these direct actions. That is either going to DOT directly, a demonstration, getting channel 2 or 4 to come down. I mean, simultaneously, it's a shot because this, what they have now done is something that we may all agree with, but they're just about, I have to say that I object to this personally, they are transforming the city. Now, we want to see the city transformed in some ways, in the sense of we don't want all the cars and pollution and so on. But this is in fact not Amsterdam, and it's not going to be Amsterdam with the dominance of bicycles, or if it is going to be that, it's going to take a long time. And in the meantime, good things are happening, but they're destroying the streetscape in certain places. They are hurting pedestrians, and they're not listening. So I think that what's happened tonight
They ask for local knowledge.
and it's worth the next shot. I mean, it may not have, but I think some of it could be stopped and modified because it really is
Like I said,
pretty
we're not giving up.
egregious. I mean, I hope we all have the courage.
Thank you, Ethel. Rich, and then Joan, right? Yeah.
So it sounds like we're moving towards sending a follow-up to DOT. based on the feedback we're getting, based on you know what.
If we have a sense of the committee that's
So,
what we should do.
so if we go that route, I'm just thinking about logistics, because I think a challenge that we ran into with the last communication was that it was something that was pulled together without committee involvement for the final report of it. And I think that what we're going to need to do is look one by one at each of the 39 locations. Some of them are going to be super quick, but make sure that we have a.
There's no issue regarding.
Yeah. So it could be as quick as, you know, number 33, we're all good, move on. So I think, you know, like we said, there are 15 that we raised. So no, I'm still going. So I think that as a committee, we need to go through the list and make sure that we have consensus on which ones we want to raise with DOT based on the feedback that we've gotten.
Just finish doing it. Why not do this quickly? Look, there were 39, so I looked at the map when it came, and I was quite startled that all they did was modify 3. I mean, it was immediately.
We
What the hell
said
is this?
24 of the 39 were fine.
Right.
15 we asked for a slight
Right.
movement. We got 3.
Okay, so that's immediately, this board was worked like hell and was being reasonable. It didn't say we hate it all. It said 24.
We didn't say don't build it.
I would suggest if it coincides, if you think so, that of the 15, if within those 15 are the 7
And it's ultimately
or 8
12 because
that
they
are,
moved
or
3.
whatever it
12
is,
now.
okay, 12, there were the 6 or 7 or 8 that we heard this outcry. I would absolutely hit those right away and
I
say,
second that, yeah.
these 10 or whatever, the public is against. This has got to change. This is no way to have responded to the community. Hit the big ones first and get that change as quickly as
Very quick
possible.
comment. Clearly, the DOT is not being very responsive, so I think we should try to limit and figure which specific locations are most an issue. Yeah, and not reopen the.
No, we're not reopening.
Yeah, we're not reopening all 15. Just right.
It's not even 10 or 12. I called on Joan next. Joan.
Thank you. I just want to register that I'm here representing the West 104th Street Block Association, as I'm honored to see what's going to happen. We had asked for the spot on the north side of 104th and Riverside, the west side of Riverside, to be moved down 1 block. It will interfere with the bus routes, et cetera, and we had a transportation expert come from the 24th precinct. He spent about a half an hour or so at rush hour one evening with a number of us at that intersection, and he agreed with us. I don't know what happened with that, but I just want to register that I'm here again, and that just not moving it would cause a lot of problems and a great backup, particularly in morning rush.
That's one of the ones we also recommended.
We asked that to move that block south.
Thank you.
We
We
did.
move that block south. That will be on our list to ask. them
Joan,
again.
can you send us the name of the traffic expert? That would be helpful. I think,
Sure.
when we communicate
One of
to
the
DOT.
guys from the.
Roberta.
I think in our letter that should go out, hopefully.
Yeah.
That we had that there was a large input from the community. That we had a very large crowd of people, some of them were representing, I mean, some of the people who came were actually representing
They're co-op, so
a large
Block
number of people.
association.
So even though there may have been 40 people in this room, the 50 people, they may have been representing, each person may be representing 30 to 50 people. So I think that should definitely be placed in the letter.
Sure.
And,
Have we've already decided we're gonna do the letter without discussion?
I asked for a sense of the committee.
Are we now discussing that, or are we taking?
Yeah, there's 2 more hands and then we'll discuss, okay? Yes, ma'am, and then Jim. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify that one of the ones you asked me to change got changed to the location that we're complaining about, which is Riverside Drive between 77 and
78, yes.
which is a disaster waiting to happen for every reason that everybody has discussed on and on. I don't have to mention. But there is not even any sidewalk there. So I don't know how this committee decided that that would be a great location. Those of us familiar with them, know that it was horrific.
Yeah, mean,
We're
it's,
actually
the
also
stand
saying
is, the
reasons
stand
why
is
we do it.
supposed to be in the street.
Right,
Well,
right, there is no street.
Right,
So it's literally in the street.
right. So if you, again, if you pull a bike out, you're gonna be in traffic, right?
Exactly.
This is what I would really love to have a representative from Motivate here to explain the distances involved, how the bikes are pulled out, what, you know, if it's taking up a parking lane and you pull out, you've got to be in a moving traffic lane, it seems to me.
And the number 5 bus goes barreling along there, and so does the West Side Highway.
I believe the reason that they so wanted the 79th, and in this case now 78th and Riverside area was because it's accessible to the bike path in the park, and the north-south, the greenway. I think that's their
Put it
motivation.
down there.
Why do they want it in the park?
They cannot put it in a city park.
No, it'd be in the park.
I hope you put in the letter that we're really disappointed that they did not come to this meeting. You know, that we expected them here, and we're here because of one of the reasons, because of that. I appreciate all the, you know, input we're putting on you guys, and you're listening. But do put that in your letter.
Thank you very much.
Well, and yes, we certainly, at the community, appreciate everything that you do, and I want to say that. I guess what I'm understanding is, you know, the city bike, on the whole concept of it, we would like the red line. You're 3 minutes from Riverside to walk to 79th train station.
New Yorkers never call it the red line.
Well, you know what? The one, the two,
There
the
we go.
three. Look, I lived here all my life. The point is I'm not going to take a bicycle to go to the corner. And the reality is, like, how many of them do we need in our neighborhood? I'm not opposed to having them, but how many do we need? If we can only use it for 30 minutes, there's one going in on 72nd by the Eleanor Roosevelt Monument, and then we need another one.
Well, that's actually a debate for another time.
Okay, fine.
But right now, we're trying to look
But I
at
guess
what's
my
here, of what's been proposed,
We gotta move.
what's a
So,
disaster,
we're-
what's
we're-
going on, and there is a whole other need and a whole other time to talk about whether you think bicycles, city bike lanes, or anything else are good, bad, or some other.
And that's fine, but there's a difference between six bikes. I'm not opposed to any of that. The point is that it's dangerous. You live across the pike, there's a park, there's no sidewalks. It's narrow as it is. There's a blind spot on 77. You've got kids running across the street. You've got hundreds of kids in our neighborhood.
We know.
It's a disaster.
We know it all.
You know, and every morning I sit and watch all of our kids get on a campus, and I'm shaking my head, and we can't do anything about it.
Jen.
I wanted to ask, I looked at the most recent posting of the map on the website. Yeah. Did they go out of Verde Square? I hope. It looked to me like there was nothing in Verde Square. It's fine with me. I mean, I said if they want to go in Verde Square, don't go on the north side, go on the south side.
We're checking the map.
Okay.
What does that got to do with this gas right now? That has nothing to do with-
Any of you recognize somebody from the audience?
Speak,
Howard?
please.
Anybody else that's talking?
Last
You
question.
recognize this man behind you?
So, with all due respect, we'll go through these steps, write a letter, but the fact remains, they haven't listened the first go around. So, is there a process, or is there a way to think through the other channels that we talked about? There are email addresses for the people that work for Motivate. There are people at Citibank that we can absolutely get to without any difficulty. There's channels through social media. There's channels through PR. There's different avenues and ways to go about this, as opposed to just a formal channel of going through the steps, waving our hand and saying, again, we're writing this letter, and I'm all about being respectful and going through the formal channel. But I think we're hitting ourselves.
Okay, let me say one thing, which is that as members of the public, as a group from the public, you're free to do what you think is there. As far as this board taking those kinds of actions, that's not something that this board is going to do, right? It's not something that's going to work. But as far as all the actions that you've expressed, anything that's there, talk to Citibank, talk to the elected officials. It starts with the mayor.
And it comes down very much on a local level to get local response and all avenues would need to be explored.
But wouldn't the board have a better chance of having the ear of the mayor or our representatives than we would?
Elected representatives respond to constituent email, believe me, they do.
But also, wouldn't the board as a group representing,
Well, the board hasn't yet made a decision on what they're gonna do, which is for the committee discussion, which we need to undertake. So if we can get to that.
And the board itself may not have the same unanimity of opinion that we hear in this room today. So I would
Howard,
say-
or Isaac?
No, this one, go through and we can finish up so we can move.
Yeah, no, so you've heard, Ethel, and I think I saw Howard,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just to identify those few locations. We can't deal with everything. Let's just focus in.
No, it's seven in particular that were really.
Which are the 7 you're talking about?
What, you want it by number?
Yeah, by number.
Okay. 1 second, please. Number 5, which is, east side of Central Park between 67 and 68, that was one. Another one was number 8, east side of Central Park, sidewalk of Central Park West between 71 and 72. Number 16, north side of 81st, just west of Columbus. It is number 15, which is now Riverside between.
No, 15 they moved.
They moved, but people are now expressing a problem that it's unsafe there.
We'll move it back.
I don't think you want to do that. Another one is. No. It's number 25, which is the east side of Riverside at 92nd in the main roadway. That's the one you're talking about, right, Mark? Mark?
Hello?
You're talking about east side of Riverside Drive at 92nd Street, correct? There isn't any schedule for 91st.
And the proposed relocation is 95th and Riverside, near the entrance to the park.
It has to be 91st.
It's kind of between 91st and 92nd, because that's where the Jonah Park comes to.
Yes, but that hasn't been proposed to be moved anywhere. I said that I wish you would, that's one of the reasons I asked if these things are lit, because that's a fairly dark place, and there's a rise in the topography there.
That's right. There's also a 4-block run where there's no traffic signals, so cars can move pretty good. And
So that's
also,
number-
there's no sidewalk, it's on the island, so there's no sidewalk there. So that when you pull, whichever way it is you pull a bike out, you're pulling it into a travel lane.
Which is gonna be the case in a few of these, I'm afraid.
Doesn't mean it's fine. And there's a safe place at 95th Street on the sidewalk by the
That
park.
doesn't seem to be a
criteria.
And the other one was the suggested, number 35, which was the west side of Riverside Drive between 104th and 105th. We suggested it be moved a block south, and they did not do that. I think those are the locations that have had reservations expressed, or stronger than reservations expressed
I'm
tonight.
sorry, did you mention 81st?
I did, sure. Couldn't have missed that one. Yes, ma'am?
How many lot associations are there in this particular community board?
An awful lot. But I don't have the exact number. I think the district, Penny would know. Our district manager called during business hours. 362-4008. Okay.
Right.
Committee. Ken.
I think it's really premature and for us.
Excuse me, can I ask you something?
We have a
Oh, I'm
board
sorry.
member who's speaking at the moment.
Oh, there's a board member? I'm bored too. I've been bored all evening.
The door is that way.
I want to get this done. Well said. I've been to the meeting here before.
Okay.
I think it's really premature for us to even write a letter These, I understand that change is difficult, and, this is involving change on the street. But, we don't know what's gonna happen. All we're getting predictions of disaster. But we don't know what's gonna happen. And so what we need to do is wait. It's gonna be hard to be patient, but just wait and see what's gonna happen in the real world. Wait for them to be put down and look at the experience. For us to be acting on people coming in here and saying, oh, it's gonna be terrible, it's gonna be disaster, it's totally inappropriate for us to do that.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly on this, Ken.
Yeah.
If the community has taken their time to come out and express a concern to us, many of which we, at least those of us that have visited some of these sites, agreed with, why wouldn't we try to head off a disaster and make it more palatable for the community?
We don't know there's gonna be a disaster.
No.
These are some
And
members-
City Bike and Motivate have done a lot of locations and listened for that. However, we're a community board and our job is to represent the community. So
These
even
are-
though we might individually think City Bike probably knows what they're doing, we have a lot of voices here, and I think we need to represent.
These are some members of the community. There are about 260,000 other members of the community who are not here. There are thousands of members of the community who are going to be using City Bike. They don't happen to be here. We should represent them also.
If this is an
Ken,
organized.
is it your opinion? Wait a minute, is it your assertion that if stand A were moved 200 feet in one direction, that it would no longer be used by the public?
I don't know. All I know is
Playground on the highway?
all I know is that the experts who have done this all over the city, and this is a huge success.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
It's the most used bike share.
It's
It's the most used bike share system in the world.
Ken has expressed his opinion, he has a right to do
And
that.
I haven't.
You're not doing
Folks in the audience, please, we have a board member.
In terms of predictions of disaster, we should, at this point, defer to the experts. They've cited them all over the city. There have not been disasters anywhere in the city. There hasn't even been a city bike death anywhere in the city after 2 years. And there were, believe me, there were predictions. I know, but I'm just saying, talking about predictions of disaster. So we should not be acting on predictions.
Folks, we're doing committee deliberation at this moment. If you could hold your hands down, Rich.
So one thing I've been playing with in the year plus I've been on the board is how much to value and listen to different thoughts. And I definitely appreciate a lot of people came out tonight with very passionate views. I think that what we're hearing tonight is a subset of what we've heard through a very long process. And that long process, starting with the May meeting into June, all the site visits we did, ended up in the recommendations that the committee worked on, and then Dan and Andrew put together, largely with community input, not exactly, into the letter to DOT. And I think that given what that entire process came up with, there were the 15 sites, it's down to 12 now, based on 3 of them DOT listening to. We've called out 6 sites that arguably did not match our recommendations to DOT. What I would recommend is I think we should look at those 6 sites. I think we can do it fairly quickly, see if we have, no, not just discuss them very briefly right now. I think that we can, for those 6 sites, figure out if we have consensus on reinforcing what the letter to DOT said, and send a letter to DOT just about those 6 sites saying, here are 6 sites, especially number 16, or any of the others that we did get strong community feedback. The DOT did not listen, and we urge you to revisit these 6 sites.
Will we be writing this letter?
Our purview is to write to DOT. What the community wants to do with.
Not listen. We would say that's DOT. You did not listen. Oh, okay. You DOT. Oh, I get it.
We would ask them to
Does the
the copy to
consider.
motivate.
Exactly.
Send the copy
Wait.
to motivate.
And city.
Sure, Mark, did you want to add something to that?
I wanted to add something that there is an organizational efficiency reason to do this now. While it may be de minimis effort to move a stand, there's programming and mapping that goes along with the siting of these venues. And I don't think that that turns on a dime. In fact, I could bet you a good beer that the reason your timetable got moved up is because of the need to do some of that programming and vetting. So I think that's another reason to listen to the wisdom of our community and the wisdom of your own committee on the sites that you've identified.
Sure.
There's one logistical issue with changing any of the sites tonight, and that is we may be moving it to a site that has that's even more troublesome. So I don't know.
When you move a pebble of sand on a beach,
Exactly.
it has effects, obviously. And moving to one of these might piss off a whole new host of folks. There's no
Or
doubt
be
about
a
it.
quote unquote disaster in some other way.
All we can do is go with the best judgment that we can put out there and
But
lay it
just
out,
to-
lay
to-
it out there. If
right,
it
but
turns
to
out
further
to be wrong, they will then
further
move
Ken's
it, and like
point-
Ken said, we will see how it goes.
There should, there,
Can I just, the thing that we're really missing, that would have put so many of these issues to bed, and for some reason it couldn't get off the ground, was a site visit with somebody from DOT and somebody from Motivate to show exactly the logistics, the angles, the space needed, all of those kinds of things. That would have put a lot of these issues to bed, and they didn't do it.
well, maybe they did it without us.
People from the
They're doing it
neighborhood.
too fast with
Right.
good people.
I don't know.
Community feedback, you gotta allow community.
Sure, Ethel.
Okay,
And then Rich,
could I just
who's had his
attempt to
hand
put,
up.
could I attempt to put together these last 2, 3 comments? I think that what you can do and should do is choose the 6 or 8 as the committee determines tonight. And make those points that there are serious issues that you are asking for a continuing analysis. I don't even want to use the word yet, reconsideration, but that this needs to be looked at. We are asking for DOT and Motivate to look at these 6 or 8 locations. Remember, Ken, it's locations that this community and the community is entitled and is the best judge in terms of location. There are things to say. I put this to the committee, perhaps for your wisdom in this. I heard tonight, well, that they moved it 100 feet or 200 feet. I do take seriously, I don't know, was it Howard or somebody just saying, it might get worse
Yeah.
in another location. So the reason by taking it seriously, I would just suggest this, don't offer with the 6, don't offer another place.
An alternative.
Don't say it because you don't know yet, but you have enough, there are enough problems with the 6 or 8, and they haven't come out, so make that happen, and don't offer anything, say, you've got to be here.
Yep.
We've heard from the community, we asked you, and you've got to do it, and do it quickly.
Okay, thank you. Rich.
So in response to that, DOT did specifically say, if you have an issue with the site, please look at an alternative, and we did put a good amount of effort into looking at alternatives. What I recommend is we have numbers 5, 8, 15, 16, 25, 35. Starting with number 5, which is the east sidewalk of Central Park West between West 67 and West 68. The feedback in the Dan Andrew letter was community opposed, possible better location near 66th Street, wider area, no playgrounds.
I have.
Do we, on that specific site, do we as a committee agree with that recommendation?
Can I
Or do
make
we?
a point? I live right there. I think that alternative location is a very bad idea, and I've spoken to a lot of people in my building who feel very strongly it should stay where it is. In fact, we were asked by 75 Central Park West to do a petition, and it was pulled, and we didn't do the petition.
How are you talking about these
I'm
locations?
talking,
Number
yes.
5 now?
Yes, because we feel strongly, I'm speaking for my neighbors now, I spoke to many of them, that first location is preferable. It's not even similar. The other one, yes. Because it's not as safe, it's just not as safe, because there are 2 entrances on either side. That's sort of a dead zone. It's on the other side of the parking lot for Tavern on the Green. It's a quiet spot.
big wide space, bikes and it's like I said, it's away from the playground.
The playground is north of that spot. The playground, right. The proposed location is south of the playground.
No,
The
it's-
alternative, it is. I look out the window. I've been looking out the window for 20 years looking at it.
You can't see the street. You've got the wrong spot.
So as a committee, for number 5, should we vote on whether we believe the recommendation that was in the letter is something we agree with?
If we were to take Ethel's suggestion, it would be to not offer it an alternate location. It would be to say, it would ask a reevaluation of this group of that location.
So, okay, so should we, as the 7 of us, as the 7 still standing, should we decide if we want number 5 to be part of the letter? Howard obviously feels it should not be.
Well, it all has to do with the proposed alternative. The proposed alternative, in my opinion, is
You're not
worse.
the only people on the committee. I think that given the public outcry that we've had here about that spot, I think that we should make that known to the DOT. I think that given what Howard has told us, we should not go ahead and propose moving it to 6.
The DOT also know that there are many people who support that location. Why present only? What about all the people I've spoken to, including myself, who feel that's the best location in the area? Why should that be
At
left
the
out of the
risk
area?
of, a shitload more of work. Would it be, if there's a real disagreement on one of these, perhaps a group, we all go out with folks and inspect it visually, all of us together? Does that make sense? I don't know. If we could do it in the next few days, we can then get the letter to DOT out.
This location, 67th Street on Central Park West, location is drained and not to that.
East side of Central Park West,
My building
sidewalk.
had somebody placed the same, petition in our lot, and our building also rejected it. We were fine with that location.
No, your building signed the petition, we got about 20 or 30 signatures.
It was pulled by the building president, and it was not supposed to be begun to exist legally, whatever. The co-op board, determined that they were fine with the location. And
As they are.
Be that as it may, only
No, but no one said that she's representing.
I'm representing, we have about 200 signatures, I'm on the board of directors.
I believe that Penny has said that, Tara Klein, representative, who comes to our meetings, has received hundreds of
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
petitions, but, does it make sense to go and visit one last time? What's in contention?
I don't think we should be visiting. I think if we can finish tonight, it could drag on forever, and a lot of people have expressed the need for urgency. I think if we can resolve these tonight, we all know these sites pretty well.
I agree if we can resolve them.
So number 5 and move on to number 8
Also, I just
and go back to number 5.
Some basic foundational questions. Some people are in favor of location, some people are against it. You have to put both sides in the letter. You can't just say, if one person opposes it and one person's in favor of it, you can't just say there's some, give me both sides.
All right.
It has to be both sides.
Thanks so much. We can only do what we can do with the group that we have here at present.
There was a request to evaluate the both sides of this issue, but there was a request to be
Isn't what we want from DOT information? We want to know their rationale, and it's not a reason.
We would like to get, we should include asking for that in our letter, but the specific site for the
Well, but I thought Ethel's idea was to say that we have concerns about
Please reevaluate, or worse than that.
Well, why don't we, instead of saying that, this is something I can support, is why not just ask them, tell them the concerns, and ask them how they respond to those concerns. We've said that people are gonna be backing bikes out into traffic. Maybe that's not the case. Well, I think that should be the meeting. And I would support it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what, I didn't, wasn't able to understand what Tom was saying. You were talking there.
I was suggesting that we ask DOT to, in effect, defend some of these controversial sites and tell us
The rationale.
the rationale and express the safety concerns that have been raised.
I
And
wouldn't do that, I wouldn't give them a chance to be good.
I don't know if that's the exact wording we would want to use. I think we'd be on solid ground if we said,
We don't understand.
we
why-
understand that you have only agreed to 3 changes, but there are 5 to 6 or 7, whatever this number is, that a large number of constituents have turned out to speak about, and we ask that you reevaluate these locations. And if you think these are still valid, please tell us why. Or, I mean, but that's giving them that out again that somebody may say.
Now, because you can always talk to them.
there was really
And
only
if
one,
we're running out of time.
there's really only one location where a quote unquote large number of people showed
Yeah.
up. I think we should be really clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick request listing. I asked before about how many block associations. Can we get a list of all the block associations and their presidents?
I believe we told you that if you call the district manager, Penny Ryan, during business hours, she has that information.
I think it would be, okay.
I believe there's a list of organizations also on the CB7 website. I don't know how much detail there is on it, but you can go and look there. And there's also a federation of West Side Block and Neighborhood Association.
Perfect.
You can look up, which has most of the different.
I
block
think it would be
associations.
important if every block association had a representative and we're all together to hear from the block association who maybe don't come here. And
Am I correct in assuming that the applicant for the newsstand is not present? Okay, we're gonna have to do a disapproval again. Yes, Rich?
I think your idea might be great. I think we need to stay focused on what CB7 is able to do. So it's getting late and CB7 has a limited purview. So doing media campaigns or going to block associations or going to elected officials or anything else.
I thought having us all together might have a little more power. That's all.
Mhm.
Okay, we need to get some agreement on the language of the communication we're gonna be sending to DOT. So, we're gonna say, and feel free to chime in, that, as a result of our Transportation Committee meeting, Tuesday evening, a large number of people turned out, on various, proposed city bike locations. And we would ask that you reevaluate these particular locations and get back to us. Is that a fair? Or do you want to
reevaluate?
I think you would want to ask that they reevaluate them with you. Not just ask them to reevaluate, because then they could write back the next day and say, yeah, we thought about it again, and we think we're pretty smart.
That would be great. I
And
would love that.
also
I mean, there's a lot of-
reevaluate in light of some of the specific comments.
Yeah, well, comments until Isaac is done with his minutes, and I don't know that you got them all. Did you get them all? But I think we got a sense on 2 or 3 of them. I know exactly the comments.
Andrew, I just have a question. The 3 that they did propose, that they did agree to, are not any of the 6 we're talking about, correct?
Of course not.
Oh, they're not.
Well, actually, no.
Yeah, one of them is.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of the ones they did change, which we were glad that they changed, but apparently the place that they changed it to has some problems as well.
That's the risk we
Has
run.
issues.
So
In this
thoroughly
particular
predictable.
case, they changed it to exactly the same problem, a block
Well,
south.
it's not the
Yeah,
same
well,
problem.
this one- this place,
Because it's
we
not
had-
the exit.
Right, we had, under limited time, we looked at it, we saw what was there, we said, oh, this is a big problem of one problem. Moved it to solve that problem, but really didn't speak to the problem that was brought up tonight, which would really affect either one of those locations.
Well, then maybe when we're saying there's a problem with a location, we have to, my big fear is they come up with a location that's clearly worse. Like the one that's outside of my apartment, moving it south would clearly be worse. You're putting city bike between two turning lanes. It's definitely less safe.
Well, we hope their expertise will not have.
So the language was, as a result of the.
We wouldn't be having this problem.
Let's wrap this up because it's getting really late. As a result of our recent transportation committee meeting, we'll give the day and the date. Several concerns were raised about some of the proposed city bike locations. We ask that you please come and meet us at these locations and and explain your rationale or words to that effect. Request that you meet us at these locations, at your earliest convenience, so that we can review our concerns with you.
Or they could explain their rationale for choosing that site. I think you should put it in the positive. Right. Yeah, they should explain their
Did you
rationale.
get that language by any chance?
Several concerns were raised, and could you meet us at these locations?
Yeah.
To explain
the rationale for approval.
For citing it there.
For these sightings or whatever, citing these bike stands.
Yeah, we want to know their rationale. I think it could be patronizing to assume that they don't know what they're doing. I think you should at least give them that.
Well, should we add to that and we can express the community concerns, the specific community concerns we heard?
We can go over with the concerns expressed and our
To
reasons.
explain their rationale.
Well, throughout the process.
On 81st and Columbus, you
One
have.
second, we're almost there.
Circulate a copy of the.
Of course.
Version of that.
Of course.
Yeah, because we want to make sure it's right.
Are we still on the list? Is 71st and Central Park West still on the list? Yes?
Oh, we just named seven.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations.
7 locations.
5, 8, 16, 15, 25, 35.
Let me add something then. On 81st and Columbus, you were there. I know you understand what concerns are. We submitted our concerns last meeting. So if you need a list of what they are, you have it. You don't have to. We didn't express them today, but you know that they are. It's a dangerous site.
Is it the north?
It's the
East
north.
corner.
No, it's the.
North side of 81, west of Columbus.
Northwest corner.
So it's like the 6-story, late 1800s apartment building?
Okay, folks, we have the language. I think you've all heard it. Isaac can read it back to you if you need it again. But it's 9:35, so maybe, hopefully you don't need it again. So, and we will forward a copy of this. There is one more thing.
What?
So people from the public, there's one member of the public who didn't get to speak tonight about citing the concern.
You remember the public?
Yeah, yes. Okay. And the specific site is one that we visited, and Rich and I both visited at 107th Street and West End Avenue. And it's one that we disagreed on, so we're going to hear it as a committee. Because my consideration is that it's an extremely dangerous site that they've chosen, and it should not be at that site. I've suggested a move that other people, including Richard, thought was not a good place to move it to. And there are other people who agree with Richard as to the site on 38. This is Vice Stratton Park. On the side of Broadway being a problem, it would be too difficult over there. However, the site that they chose on West End Avenue is right where Broadway traffic goes straight onto West End. You can see the lights all the way down.
Where it divides right there?
There's only, where you stay in the right lane and you go down. The traffic speed is going straight faster than anything you've seen on Broadway curving to go through there. And there are buildings in the middle of the block as well as a place that gets deliveries on the corner. And anybody who stops in that right-hand lane, DOT looks at it as though West End with two-way traffic with a buffer in the second lane, and anybody can get by those vehicles and stop. Virtually every car or bus or anything else that goes through that spot goes to the left of anything that's coming there, travels in the extra buffer parking lane right next to the car. It is so dangerous that anybody pulling out city bikes from there is likely to get smashed by someone speeding through there. It is a terrible, terrible spot to site this one. West End is the narrowest location that it is. The park was expanded, it's narrower. It's not like anything on West End south of there. And if you watch the traffic flow, you can see it, and you can't see it from Google Street View. And that's the way
You can see it.
that to a great extent for the people who do it. It's on the east side of West
East side.
End, next on the curve next to the park in the street.
You know where it splits right there? Mark? Yeah, it splits.
Okay, I can show you pictures that I took of the buses traveling in the expanded parking lane that would be right next to where those bikes are pulling out at different times of the day. It should not be in that location. I proposed looking to move it onto the Broadway side of the park. I understand their concerns about that. I'm not looking for anybody to support that, but at this point, I would like this committee to support saying, do not put it on that West End location. It's terrible. It'll be very dangerous. People are going to get killed. It's mostly going to be people taking out the city.
I don't know that location, so I defer to you. My bigger question is, are we going to put in this letter an alternative location? To just say negative things, I don't really think is very constructive. I think.
What if we said, we asked that you made us in the area, made us like we said.
To explain their rationale.
No, and explore another possible site,
An adjacent site.
a safer site.
Okay.
We want people to be safe, don't we?
Can you agree with that? Can disagree with that.
And you could probably say there's, safety concerns were raised for each thing. They're going to,
And listen, it's not just me. I've heard that from virtually every other neighbor in the neighborhood, anybody who's around there.
I know nothing.
And for people who are with the Strass Park neighborhood.
We have to see it coming.
Yeah, I don't want it.
So and
Got a different point of
to be clear, I think the area where we disagree is the proposed site of putting it onto Broadway. And I think that proposed site on Broadway would be a horrible idea. So
I'm withdrawing that even
okay,
suggestion
so
at this point.
if you feel that strongly,
I would like to have an alternative.
okay.
But I can't come up with an alternative that's acceptable at this point. But I can tell you this is.
Two quick points of reason I agree with you in part is that we also looked at that same stretch of road as a potential place for a layover for the M60 bus. And for all the reasons why that wasn't a good location for that, it's not a good location for this. So I agree with you.
So
what about West 107th Street, west of Broadway, on the side street in
North or south side?
Actually, I would put it on the north side because it's where that wide expanse of sidewalk is. You could actually put it on the sidewalk, or you could put it in the street there, just to have a place to say there or some other place.
106 is twice as wide. Why not 106?
There's already, and looking at the map, so looking at the map, which I'd like to project, but it would take too long. There's another site a half a block away on the north side of 106 between Amsterdam and Broadway. So,
There's a place I have to walk.
yeah, so I don't know that that site is needed there. We could push it, as Mark says, up to 107th Street. We could even push it 108, 109. In terms of alternatives, the top of the district, let me talk. So the top of the district.
Why are we moving the one from 106th Street to a spot where we're thinking of moving? We're already talking about
What I'm saying is there's a lot of room at the top of the district that's not covered. We have two sites pretty much on top of each other. I don't think it's going to be productive to try to come up with an alternative to that site right now. If Dan has stated a very clear concern about safety, as long as we're not proposing the site that Dan wanted to put it, I'm fine with that.
Why don't we invite them up to look, express the safety concerns,
Yes.
and let's explore with them an alternative.
Good.
We visited 39 sites. If we have to visit another 8 to get this thing right, I think that's our
Yep.
responsibility to do
Revisit.
it. Yeah, revisit.
Do you
7.
want any of us to be at these sites?
It would be great if
So
we
you'll
can
let us know.
get an agreement that they'll actually come and do it.
Okay, you'll let us know.
Of course.
Which means you have to arrange to have all of them done in one day. Because they're not gonna give you more than a day.
I don't know about
And
that.
we'll work that out with them, all right?
I
We're not
think-
gonna make progress if we don't have. it.
I read, I don't know what their procurement process is, but I read that the Long Island City and Greenpoint ones are somewhat delayed, which might mean that these are even further delayed, and so I'm hopeful that they will want to get this right.
Can you get it to us through the community board website? If you know we can come? Could you get it to the
I think
public?
that would be a little big.
No, but I'm saying, she said, how would we know?
I don't know how
So,
we can.
Put it on the website.
I guess it could go on the website. I just don't know that they'll want to come out if there's going to be, you know, 100 people out.
Maybe they won't want to deal with.
That's what I'm worried about.
You know, I think that,
I think you should start with the committee first. before-
yeah, I think you can have faith in us. We've heard from the community, and that's our job. So are we clear that it's numbers 5, 8, the revisited 15, 16, 25, 35, 38?
Did you have 25 listed on
Yeah,
there?
you
Rick?
said that.
Yes, 5, 8, the
35,
revisited
38.
15, 16, 25, 35, 38.
38, that's exactly right.
Richard, you're confusing us by having it in numerical order.
Yeah.
Rich,
Stop over.
can you send this back to me now with those dates? Can you
Yes.
email me?
So,
Well, we're gonna get a whole
so
resolution.
can we get a vote of the committee and obviously other board members on the movement of getting this transmitted to DOT ASAP? A lot
We
of
need a
initials
vote.
there. Sorry.
We need a vote.
Unless there's
Do
a
a
sense of the
letter?
committee to do it.
To do a
I
letter?
think you need to vote on, for a letter.
I think we do. I think it's good practice for us to vote on things.
Is there
Ken,
anyone, is
Ken,
there
I think
anyone
it's
on
good
the
practice
committee
for us to vote on.
who objects to sending this letter?
And I don't want to do a resolution because that means
No,
we have to go to the.
I don't want to
Can
do a
just get an answer?
resolution.
Is there anyone on the committee who objects to sending this letter?
Yeah,
I assume that you object to our sending.
and the reason is, I don't think we should be second guessing DOT at this point.
That's why we're asking.
We should
Okay.
wait for these.
Then let's have a vote as a committee as to whether we're going to send the letter. All right, all in favor of sending the letter? 4, 5. All opposed to sending the letter, please raise your hand. 1 opposed. All abstaining? Is that what you're doing there, Howard?
So with or without cause?
Anyone vacillates between what you're trying to do or not do, all right? No one vacillating. So,
The devil's in the details, quite frankly, just so you know.
I
Yeah.
understand. We'll do the best.
Of course. So Isaac, get us the language as soon as you can, and we'll do it. We'll run it by the committee. And thank you very much for your time.
The language on what, on the letter?
Yeah, so we can get this out. And we'll be very site specific in the letter. We'll list, because DOT has the numbers we put to this.
Can you
So,
photocopy it?
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll put whatever I got together, you know, like I got expertise. You're a lawyer. Yeah, some language. I'll send it to Andrew. Correct.
There's a great market there.
Are we done?
Are we done?
Are we done?
Yes, let me just say that Ethel was here in order to talk about the Nelson Nygaard survey, and for some reason, it's not in the package here, and so there's no reason for her to be in. It's much too late to give that the time it's worth in any event. Rich?
Yeah, I want to raise the issue about the agenda for the meetings. Because I had gotten a request from, yeah.
What happened with this?
Hear me out.
Yeah, that's right.
So at the beginning of June, I got a request from Captain Allen, who reports to the chief of the police at headquarters, to have something on our agenda, which was actually great that he was asking for the community's feedback on the issue of. He was here a few months ago, real bright guy. He got bumped up from the 24th precinct to headquarters. He wanted community feedback on pedal assist bicycles. I had emailed with.
Right? Pedal assist?
Yes. I had emailed with Dan and Andrew. I got a commitment from Andrew that this would be on the agenda for this month, and communicated that both to Captain Allen and to Captain Laren, the commanding officer of the 24th precinct. It puts me in a really awkward position that this was something that was to have been on the agenda. We ended up spending the first half hour of this meeting talking about recycling cans, which might be a worthy issue, but I think I was first, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to get feedback. And I'd like to have some way for committee members to get items on the agenda. And one idea would be if there's an item that 3 or more members of the committee feel should be on the agenda, that it automatically goes onto the agenda for the next month.
It isn't that we deliberately didn't put it on the agenda, Rich. You referred to the email chain. Did you see the one where you said that if Captain Malin can't come, maybe somebody else from police can come?
Yeah, maybe they could, maybe they couldn't,
It doesn't say that.
but no,
I was hopeful that
the previous email had said, I don't think he was planning on coming, nor is there a need for him to be there. He asked to get our community input. Can we have it on the agenda either way? And to that you responded, we can surely have it on the agenda. I mean, I think that's as clear as day. And then the next email was, thanks, I'll use discussion of pedal-assisted bikes as the title. So it was very clear
I was
from.
waiting to hear if somebody was going to come, though. I didn't deliberately keep it off.
Richard,
I'm happy to
it was
discuss.
never clear to me anything was coming, and you left me off the email chain having to do with what was here for several months. And so I didn't really know that there was.
So what is the process for coming up with the agenda for these meetings?
And for what you had, if nobody was coming for that, it was an issue you could bring up for discussion right here anyway, it did not have to be on the agenda to have a discussion. And you still have a vehicle, I don't think I would think of having any kind of formal thing of so many members say this and it goes on. Go ask the board chair if you think something's having a problem.
No, the idea was to get community
That's why we have
feedback, not.
leadership in the board and how we get there. And I don't know, it wasn't clear from you as to whether this was going to happen with Captain Malin coming, but I thought you were going to talk about it at the meeting. So, but we have time to talk about it.
Want to talk about it?
No, the idea was to get community feedback
Yeah, but
beyond
not having put
this
it
board.
on the website or on.
But that was my hope, was that we'd put it on the website. We even talked about the language to put it on the website.
For September, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too late, but if we could do that, that would be great.
Because I think
I'm sure Helen will come and share some thoughts about electric bikes also.
you know, when you have, when we have either the captain, or excuse me, the officer from the 2.0 who has come several times, or the ones that we've gotten from the 2.4, I think it adds a great dimension to these discussions. You know, it's great to have our feeling, but let's hear what the enforcement people think about it.
I agree with you. I think getting Captain Allen here is a challenge. He's really busy.
Well, maybe if he's got
No, no, he asked from headquarters for a viewpoint. So he's at headquarters right now. He wants our viewpoint to influence headquarters.
On electric bikes, but not on electric bikes.
On electric bikes, right?
Yeah.
But pedal assist is that considered the ones that are on the rear wheel as what
Yes.
little motor thing?
Yeah, and it's arguably already legal in that it's not a throttle.
It's illegal. They are illegal. Trust me.
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding as well.
The ones with the little
Right.
motor on
They
the
are
rear.
illegal. They are illegal. They're very illegal.
So I actually know someone who, I know someone who invented a device that sits on a city. Let me talk. So I know someone who invented a device that sits on a city bike and turns it into a pedal assist bike. I'm not expressing favor of this, but he did a lot of legal research, and his legal analysis was that if it's pedal assist, if you have to be pedaling and it helps you pedal, it's a different, yes, that's what we're talking about.
They are illegal. It was announced on TV when they went down all of the police that were going to crack down. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they made an announcement on anything that helps pedal, from the scooters all the way down, they were illegal.
Wouldn't it be illegal to put it on a city bike in any event?
My reference there is that this guy did legal analysis and.
Clearly need an expert.
Is there a kind of pedal assist that is down around the chain area that's not a motor that uses a kind of
spring?
Yeah. Because those are probably legal.
They just got a little motor attached
It's not
to
to
it.
make it go faster. It's to help people that don't have the motor skills to.
Right.
Yeah, and what Malin said to me is this is for pudgy old guys, pointing to himself
So
to help
what's your
them pedal.
feeling on this?
I lean opposed, but I don't have a definite thought,
Does it
which is
make
why I want to
cycling
hear community.
available to a wider group of people that might not otherwise be able to?
That's the argument for.
I spoke to a guy who's on the Upper East Side, 85 years old, and he rides one of these, and he's aware that they're illegal, but he says he wouldn't ride, and he was working.
Wouldn't or couldn't?
Both.
Usually. Well, no, some people, you know, it's too much.
But if you couldn't, then
you surely
But
would.
he probably needs it, though.
So he contacted me last year because he was advocating for trying to make this legal.
Do you know who makes these things? Anybody?
I don't know. I'll find out, but we need an expert.
Yes, that's what we need.
Yeah, but they've been illegal for a long, there are a lot of states.
There were
I mean, my research,
stations.
a lot of states, they are.
But
You know,
federally,
I
they're
know-
legal.
I know
Not even federal law,
Diller
they're
could
legal.
probably help you with that.
I know
Yes.
people in one of the bike stores on Columbus. I'll go in there and ask him if he knows anything about it, if he could tell us who
So,
makes
Yeah.
it available.
so I'm not sure that matters. If we're getting community feedback about whether these should be legal and whether, how the police department should, you know, what their policy should be
Well,
about
I think
them.
there's the kind that Howard was referring to, which
So
is
we-
actual, a motor on the rear wheel, as opposed to
You
a
have to
spring
talk to
type
them. They
of
already
thing,
have.
or something.
No, I
that makes-
talked to them, they want our opinion on what their policy should be.
They did. Where we're having a hearing on legalizing. That's what we want to communicate to the public to find out what the public.
Ken made a great point. If these things had governors on them, which made sure they could not go above a certain speed limit and made biking available to people that could not or would not otherwise bike, why is that, and they're silent, why is that a bad thing?
There is legislation, it just hasn't gone anywhere. You know,
Well, I
To
don't-
do what?
To legalize up to a certain speed
Oh.
I've seen.
certain power.
Do you know any of the sponsors of that legislation?
It's an accident.
Maybe we should have one of them come speak to us.
Yeah. I saw it in the street.
Because there's a big difference between an electric bike and something like this that makes biking available to someone
Have
who
you ever
couldn't.
seen these folks in the street with these things?
If they got a governor on them and they can't go fast,
They will make it go, they'll find a way to make it go fast. I've seen them go.
it'll be a black market, you know.
950 and, numbers, 12 way, they have, guy with a motorcycle.
So why don't we aim to get either Captain Malin and or a representative of the PD and a sponsor of this legislation to our meeting?
We won't get captain.
Yeah, we're not gonna get
someone
him.
else. We can get someone
representative
else.
then.
We can get someone else from the
And if,
24th.
and you wanna, I mean, you gotta be very clear when you say pedal assist, because there's difference there's a subtle difference in what kind of pedal assist you're talking about. Is it a motor, or is it
So-
a spring, or is it?
Yeah, so, and I had forwarded you the website that he had sent me. Pedelecs are electric bicycles that must be pedaled. Pedal assist work automatically when you start pedaling. The motor assistance will come on to assist you only when you pedal. It will make pedaling really easy. You will feel like cycling with constant tailwind.
Is there a picture of that? Is that at all?
Yep,
Mm.
looks like a bike.
Yeah, it looks like a bike.
We could get someone who can actually.
And
Is that it?
What they are, what they can do, and what they can't do.
Is the mechanism is in there? I think it connects to the wheel.
But
I would love
bet
to.
you 10 to 1.
If
you know,
you're going down, yeah, how is
going
it
down?
going it's an automatic registration location.
I know.
The website doesn't have,
You know,
has a map without the numbers.
should have our.
Okay, we're done? We're done.
One more.
I have another lot.
Andrew.
Everyone take your hand out to you. Yeah, but this is not going to keep you. It's something to read, it's something I want to keep within the committee. It's not something for an agenda, but it's something I'd like to hear back from every one of you as to your thoughts for how we can get more enforcement or other than motor vehicles.
I think I got it.
Okay, did you get one, Richard?
I didn't get one.
No,
January.
And I'd like to hear back from any one of you about what you think is more enforcement. As far as I'm concerned, Howard, you got one of the best clubs of the year. Ticket
The
is a
one,
great
it's really 192 in the middle of.
I remember saying that, thank you.
This is done.